Hi, everyone. It's the Adam Gold Show. Can't hear myself in my headphones. Am I on the air?
Yeah.
Okay. No, there you go. I should turn it up. Sorry about that. Anyway, welcome. Hope you had a great weekend. It's gorgeous this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So good for weather.
Oh, yeah.
Good for weather. We needed a win last night.
Needed it. Woo.
All right. We're going to talk about the game and the week ahead. Because doesn't it feel like, if I just could address Hurricanes fans here for a second, doesn't it feel like we have been kind of under, it's like there's been a pressure cooker going on here the last, really since all the talk started surfacing during the Four Nations face-off. And I do think that whether it's, is Mikko Rantanen, is he going to stay? Is he going to stay? Blah, blah. All of that happened too soon, and I blame laziness for it. Because based on, well, look, I have thoughts about why we're here, where we go forward, and all of that. I have thoughts on that, and I want to get to it. I don't necessarily want to hammer it over everybody's head right away. We are going to get to it in this segment of the show. But we've got some hockey stuff to talk about, including a good win for the Hurricanes last night. Well, a win, because they needed a win. Good is probably relative. Calgary can't score at all, so I'm not surprised they only got one goal. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about hoops, and we will talk about a death certificate that was agreed to and will be signed tomorrow. All of that as we start this program. All right, so let us begin with the hockey, because I thought the death certificate will come second in our little rundown. So let's get to, and we'll go hip hip aho. So Carolina wins it 2-1 in overtime last night over Calgary. It was 2 points they absolutely had to have. And if you look at the standings right now in the Metropolitan Division, Washington, who's been struggling, man, if Carolina was playing better, this division would have gotten a little tighter with 2 games remaining between the Hurricanes and the Capitals. As it is right now, it's still way too big of a gap to even think about finishing first, on top of the fact that Carolina isn't playing like a team that is going to finish first anyway. So, but they had to get 2 points yesterday after the disappointing 3-1 loss to Edmonton on Saturday night. Like, I know they lost to the Oilers, who had lost 5 in a row.
Right.
But I actually thought that it was certainly a more entertaining game to watch Saturday than last night's game. There were 0 hockey fans were grown watching yesterday's game.
Right.
What a terrible hockey game it was. Awful. For all its sloppiness, the Saturday game was fun. There was action. There were great saves. There were scoring chances. There was nothing in this game. And honestly, I pointed out during the game yesterday that, man, it's awfully quiet at Lenovo Center. I started making Dewey Decimal System references because it felt very library-ish to me.
Which is not our style.
No,
typically.
And that's the thing. For the last 6.5 years, Lenovo Center, PNC Arena, whatever you want to call it, had been the loudest house in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear the players on the ice communicating yesterday. You should not hear that.
No.
Ever. But you could hear it. We're on the 5th floor. It's to me, the pressure that's on the team has settled in the arena among the fans. And everybody is just looking to get back to, the business of playing the way they're supposed to play and winning games and all of that. And They won yesterday. And it's not like they've been dramatically under 500 since the acquisition of Rantanen and Hall. I believe the Hurricanes are 5-6-1. I mean, it's not awesome, but it's not 1-11. So, but it feels as though it's bad. And it isn't. It isn't bad. They are still in second place. The Devils lost last night in Vegas. They also saw a Jack Hughes injury, which could be long-term for them.
Yeah. Jack Eichel, though, such a great, classy player.
I didn't see the play. I just know that Hughes got hurt.
Yeah, Hughes got hurt pretty bad. It looked like a shoulder, bad shoulder injury. But Jack Eichel, he made sure to, see if he was okay. He didn't want to, he's such a good guy. Yeah.
Good for him. Well, they should be teammates. They were teammates on Team USA.
Yeah.
So they have this relationship now. But the Hurricanes needed a win last night, and even though you could argue that if you go 0 for 6 on the power play against one of the worst penalty-killing teams in the league, including 4 consecutive minutes in the final 4:43 of a 1-1 game, that you don't really deserve 2 points. If there was a way for both teams to lose, you should go, yeah, that would probably be fair. But that's not how the world works. So we go to overtime, and that is Sebastian Aho time. Carolina is 5-2 in overtime. Shootout aside, where they are 0-2. But they are 5-2 in overtime, and Aho has all 5 goals. His head coach on Aho in 3-on-3.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's room. A lot of room out there, and then he can be creative, and he's competitive as heck. So I think those combinations help and suit him in that type of environment.
It was interesting it's the second time they've been in overtime. Remember, they played the Islanders and lost in a shootout back. Was it a shootout? I think it was a shootout loss. Well back in it was an overtime loss. Well back in that was the first Mikko Rantanen game. And that was the first time they were in overtime without Natchez. So it was Aho and Jarvis who went out with Slavin. Jordan Stahl won the first faceoff. He and Burns got off the ice. Slavin, Aho, Jarvis, really nothing materialized. Jacob Slavin took a shot he shouldn't have taken, but Carolina ultimately ended up with the puck back. And they possessed the puck for just about all of the overtime. And then with Blake and Aho on the ice together with Slavin, they created the goal. But it was really, just skating around until Aho could shoot it. It's really what it was. And good for them, and Aho gets the game winner. Here's Aho on the OT winner.
I mean, there was so much going on, a lot of penalties both ways, and 5-on-5 was almost impossible to find rhythm. But then, obviously we were playing a lot of minutes on power and kill. But a weird game, and you like to see put the game away at the end there for a 4-minute power play. But gotta give them credit. They blocked a lot of shots, and obviously they're not going to blow a 5-on-3 penalty at the end there. So there was kind of a couple iffy plays. I'm not complaining at all, but how it goes. They were selling out, and kudos to them. But you hope to see a score there, but nonetheless, that was a huge win.
So big win. Aho was talking about. He committed a penalty last night that created a 5-on-3, which really led to the power play goal. That happened after the 5-on-3 expired for Calgary. But it was essentially because it was a 5-on-3 that they scored. And, it was a pretty borderline call on Aho. I think if you make that call in the second period, I don't think anybody really complains. It looked like there was a hook. But it was pretty touchy. And then when Carolina had a power play later, and granted, the Hurricanes' power play is so bad right now that it's hard to be justified in complaining at all. There were at least 2. If you're going to call that on Aho, how do you not call blatant cross checks in front of the net? But whatever. And Rod talked about it after the game. He said, it just got to be egregious. And he goes, that one wasn't. And then if you're going to call that, I don't get it. I don't get it. It should have to be an egregious penalty. And what Aho did just wasn't. I mean, I'd argue that his stick was grabbed to create the hook. But whatever. Hurricanes ultimately end up with 2 points. Doesn't bother us that Calgary gets a point out of it. Now, and then this will be the last thing we'll do on this topic real quick. Hurricanes are 5 for 65 on the power play in 2025. You have a calculator on your phone, Victoria?
Yeah, wherever my phone's at.
Right. Well, I'll save you the trouble. 7.7%.
Yikes. Not great.
7.7%. All right, let me just. We're going to get back to the Mikko Rantanen thing because I think it's complicated. It's important and it's complicated. And Friday is the NHL's trade deadline. Carolina's got 2 games between now and then. And the rumors aren't going away. And the rumors aren't going away because I do think there's a chance they trade him. A month ago, I screamed at why are we doing this? But I'm here to tell you that it could happen. I don't know what the chances are of it happening, but it could happen, and I'll explain why in a little bit. All right, to the second issue of the day. Time of death, Atlantic Coast Conference, July 1, 2030. Just a guess, right? Might be later. Won't be earlier than that, but it might be later. So is that dramatic? Yes, it is dramatic. But agreement reached today, will be signed tomorrow, in which the lawsuits involving Clemson and Florida State versus the Atlantic Coast Conference will be dissolved, and we will have a restructured revenue distribution model based on several factors that will go not necessarily all the way, but far enough in making Clemson and Florida State, closer anyway to the revenue that the SEC and the Big Ten receive top to bottom. Now, I point this out about the revenue distribution thing because this probably ends up being anywhere from 15 and maybe 20 or 25 million more for Clemson and Florida State. The way I look at it, I think we're just a couple of years, 3 years away from the SEC and the Big Ten both distributing about $100 million apiece to every school. And if it's $100 million in media revenue, 15 to 25 million ain't getting Florida State and Clemson where they want to be. But this is as good as the ACC can do given their resources. So, lawsuits thrown out. It'll be based on television ratings for football and basketball and success on the field and on the court. Which, if we're talking about television ratings in football, at least in year one with Bill Belichick, that will definitely impact North Carolina. I've said this before. I absolutely will argue it forever. There will never be more attention paid to a singular college football program as will be paid to North Carolina this year. And frankly, their success doesn't matter. In fact, I would argue if UNC goes 4-8 under Bill Belichick, which I'm not anticipating, I would argue that the attention might be greater. That'll be like accident on the side of the road attention. So, but I'm anticipating them at least having a good season. But the first year of the Belichick era is going to draw a super amount of attention. Talked about this last week. There's zero chance that TCU versus UNC would be the Labor Day game to open the college football season. No chance. You would have to have two teams coming off 11-win seasons to have UNC versus TCU being the primetime game Labor Day night. That is what Bill Belichick means in terms of attention. Not to mention the fact that Hard Knocks. Remember that from I guess it was Friday that it was announced. So here's what the other, and the reason I said the ACC's time of death is July 1, 2030. Because this deal basically says that the ACC's grant of rights was sound because the lawsuits dropped. Florida State and Clemson both wanted out sooner. Ain't happening. So they've agreed to drop the lawsuits. So good on the ACC's grant of rights. But it also means that the ACC's, while their position was strong, they really are coming at it from a perception of weakness. And by capitulating, they basically say, yeah, I know. Look, we're tired of the lawsuits. It's expensive to fight them, even though we're going to win them. We don't want to keep spending the money. And the public perception is that the conference hates each other, which, unfortunately, some members do. And it's bad for our brand to have infighting. So because you people won't shut up and play nice, we're just going to capitulate to this degree. And what they're doing is that they're restructuring what the exit payment will be, and they are allowing schools to buy their way out of the grant of rights toward the end of this deal. Right now, Florida State and Clemson could get out. It would just cost them about $700 million. Nobody's doing that. They could get out of it. You could buy your way out. You just leave and leave your media revenue behind. Of course, it doesn't make sense to leave your media revenue behind to leave a conference where you would get media revenue. But, I mean, whatever. So it was always better to shut them up rather than treat them like a hostile witness. And I do think that the ACC is making a bet here. Calculated risk in that they're gambling that the college football landscape will be dramatically different 5 years from now anyway. And I don't think that's a bad bet at all, because I think it will. So, time of death for the ACC as we know it, July 1, 2030, is what it is. Hate it. I hate that college football has become this, because it's not the game that any of you grew up loving. It just isn't. So, glad to have this episode over, and glad to know that there's an expiration date, because there is. All right, let me move on to one final thing. All right, Duke won. They beat Florida State by 1 million. They escape the specter of not having Cooper Flagg, because got hit in the face twice. Thought he had a serious eye injury at one point, and a head coach who has had a serious eye injury in John Shire. Certainly, I'm sure he was thinking back to him getting his, cornea scratched during, it was a tryout or something, or a workout. Anyway, they already went into the game without Tyrese Proctor and without Malik Brown. They lost Cooper Flagg in the first half and laid the wood to Florida State. Anyway, here's the head coach.
We really shared the ball so well. And against Florida State, to have 12 assists in the first half and 0 turnovers, and to have 17 to 4 overall, that doesn't happen, And it's a credit to those other guys staying ready that haven't played as many minutes. I thought they really stepped up. And it was great to get Coop back in that second half.
Yeah, when you talk about the turnovers, 3 of them were offensive fouls. There was only one turnover really in the run of play on that out-of-bounds play late in the contest. So that's pretty good taking care of the ball.
It's as good as it gets. I mean, really. And, our guys, we talked about valuing the ball against them, but also not being on your heels. You have to be aggressive still. So I thought we did as good of a job as you can do with still being in attack mode. And Cooper, I thought, was loose with the ball several times. But he ended up coming up with the ball. But besides that, it was really good.
Look, I feel bad that Duke has to play these games that really don't present a challenge to them. I mean, I'm not joking. Florida State's not a challenge. Miami's not a challenge. More than half the league isn't a challenge to the Blue Devils. They play Wake Forest tonight. Wake should be better than they are. And Duke won at Wake, after a little bit of a struggle. They fell behind. They pulled away and won that game. Duke is nearly a 20-point favorite tonight.
Wow.
What? I expect that game to be closer because Wake, I don't think Wake's going to win, but they have to win.
Right.
Have to win. It's relative.
It'd be a good idea.
Yeah, the Wake's going to have to win the ACC tournament unless they were to win at Duke, and then maybe they put themselves in the field, but still, Duke's way better than Wake. It's just incredible. So, Kara, speaking of way better than the other team, Carolina, they won their 5th in a row yesterday. Saturday, they beat Miami. Another in a 5-game winning streak over teams that give them nothing in terms of adding to their resume for the NCAA tournament. But we've been saying this for a while. I realize that we have reached the point in the season where Tar Heel fans are like, well, how come we're not like? Why are we? We're the first 4 out. Why are we in? Because none of these wins matter. These are only games you couldn't lose. They're all bad teams. Every single one of them is a bad team. It's like beating Ryder. Who cares? So you just couldn't lose it. So North Carolina is going into the final week. They're at Virginia Tech, then they're home against Duke. Can't lose at Virginia Tech. They're bad. We're talking about a team that is not inside the top 100 nationally. So don't lose it. And then you play Duke. Good luck. All bets are off when you play this rivalry game, so Carolina could win the game. I don't think they will, but they could. But then you go to the ACC tournament, and you got to win twice. Must. No choice. Must win twice. The second win will be a quad 1 win. But you have to win it. I don't know who it's going to be. Right now, they're actually matched up against Wake, which, frankly, that might not be a quad 1 win if it's Wake Forest. But when Wake loses to Duke tonight, that matchup should be against somebody else. Heck, it would be bad almost for North Carolina to be the 4 seed and have to deal with Duke in the second round of the ACC tournament because they've got to pick up wins. I feel bad for them, but don't lose to Stanford at home. And again, I said this before. For me, the schedule that they played, I hope the committee looks at it and goes, man, why didn't they play a normal schedule? Why did they play, Duke 3 times possibly, and then 3 of the best 5 teams in the country when they clearly weren't good enough? It's an argument for scheduling down. All right, NC State got punked by Georgia Tech. Yeah, we figured that would happen. I'm sorry about the joke about the quietness of Lenovo Center last night, where I joked it's like the State playing.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, but it was just eerily quiet in the building last night. So State's got to win twice and then hope Notre Dame loses twice. That's the path to the ACC tournament. If that doesn't happen, and I don't know what kind of confidence you have in State beating Pitt at home, which they could. Pitt's been a mess. Winning at Miami. Miami's horrendous, so State could definitely win that. But Notre Dame gets Stanford and Cal on their floor the last 2 games of the season. We'll get to Kevin Keats and the possibility of a GM a little bit later on. Seth Greenberg is going to join us on the other side. We'll talk a little bit more about the Tar Heels and their NCAA tournament hopes. You can't argue with the resume, and the resume is light. That's unfortunate. The resume is light. You certainly challenged yourself, but you challenged yourself into a whole bunch of losses. So, yeah, you probably need to beat Duke or win the ACC tournament. Maybe somebody else will beat Duke at the ACC tournament, so you won't have to. I don't know. Seth Greenberg is going to join us on the other side from ESPN. Next.
From the heels.
Touchdown, Carolina.
To the canes.
She scores!
He covers it all. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Caniacs, get ready for Iced Tea, a brand new podcast that gives you the behind-the-scenes stories from the Carolina Hurricanes. You watch the game back?
Yeah, all the time.
And are you hard on yourself?
Oh, God, yeah.
Any of the players ask for their crust off?
We do have one player that I cut the crust off, and I individually wrap it for him.
Your name is on the Stanley Cup.
It's the best trophy in sports.
Follow Iced Tea with Megan LaMontagne in any podcast app or watch the show on YouTube.
Don't go through another year with all that high interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it all out now. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech gets you approved and funded in as little as 1 day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours. Paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, and a personal loan, saving over $1,500 per month. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt-free by this time next week. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now, 919-381-1760, or visit loanpronto.com. Get a free rate quote with no hard credit pull, 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
At Bright Smiles and All-Star Implants in Garner, we specialize in transforming smiles in just 1 day with the latest in same-day implant technology, or all-on-4. Our advanced, fully digital methods deliver predictable results, giving you a beautiful, functional smile fast. We're a non-corporate, privately owned one-stop dental care destination for over 15 years. No referrals, no extra stops. Just convenient, affordable care to save you time and money. Se habla español. Schedule your free consultation now at brightsmilesnc.com.
It's bow time.
Finally, lunchtime. I'm starving.
What's that?
This is the Bojangler from Bojangles.
Ooh, with the same bold flavor as their chicken?
The same.
And fries.
The same.
Huh. Well, I've got a PB&J.
Yeah, that's not the same.
A crispy fish fillet dusted in Bo's famous seasoning. With cheese and tartar sauce on a fluffy bun, the Bojangler's back. Hook one while you can. It's bow time.
There's no time like Bojangler time. Time to stop whatever you're doing and head over to Bojangles to try the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. You heard right, the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. A perfectly seasoned, light, flaky, wild-caught Alaskan pollock fish fillet sandwich. For limited time at participating Bojangles. Make it a combo and add Bojangles seasoned fries and legendary iced tea. Hungry for Bojangles but in the mood for something different? Then it's Bojangler time.
Time is running out, folks. I need you to go to caniacsbike.com. Dennis Cox here for the Law Tigers. The Carolina Hurricanes, the Law Tigers, Tobacco Road, Harley-Davidson, and Shiny Side Paint are all teaming up once again to give one lucky fan a custom Caniacs motorcycle. Simple to enter. Go to caniacsbike.com. Sign-ups last until April 6th. The bike will be given away on the final home game of the season, caniacsbike.com. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
This is Adam Gold.
But whenever you say, well, we're not using this as an excuse, no, you are. Whether it's justifiable or not can be a different discussion, but you are.
It's like the equivalent of saying no offense, but ...
Offense coming.
Yeah, get ready for it.
Look out. Here we come with some offense for you.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold, Victoria on the ones and twos. It's time to talk to one of my favorite people He is a two-time Atlantic Coast Conference Coach of the Year. He is a star on ESPN television. He is Seth Greenberg. How are you, sir?
What's up, my brother? I'm doing fine. Still a little chilly here, but it's supposed to warm up tomorrow, so that's a good thing. And it's not snowing, so life is good.
Life is good. And you're going to be here on Saturday, correct?
Yes, I will. I'm getting there on Friday. Looking forward to watching practice. Got a chance to visit my girl, Jackie G, my daughter, who's doing about a month, so life is good.
Oh, very nice. All right, let's congratulations to you and the fam. Let me, because I know North Carolina basketball is a hot topic for you on the set, and College Game Day is going to be here because Duke Carolina is happening regardless of the quality of the two teams. And there are a lot of Tar Heel fans who go, "Why aren't we in better position?" And I know 1-10 in Quad 1 wins. Do you sit? I think there's a scenario where they could lose to Duke 3 times, but still sneak in. I don't think it's a guarantee, depending if they can win some other games. But when you watch them play, do they look like an NCAA tournament team to you?
Right now, the way they're playing, now look, I'm kind of saying that right now with the way they're playing, but their last 5 games, the lowest ranked team they played was the 90th in the country in Ken Palm.
Right.
But the way they're playing now, they're playing good basketball. The basketball, they're getting a little bit out of the two-head monster, Allen Lubin and Washington. Ian Jackson got out of his little funk that he was in. He's given him quality minutes, which takes pressure off of RJ, and then Jalen Weathers has been really, really good in the last 4 games. And that's probably the biggest thing. You know, they're getting some productivity there. Having said that, there's a lot of teams that are playing better now than they did early in the season. And that's the hardest thing. Like, look, I don't dislike Carolina. In fact, I'm a huge Hubert Davis fan. My son-in-law went to school there. The people at Carolina have been dear friends. My job isn't to be a cheerleader. My job is to tell the truth, look at a resume, and say A, B, and C. And, you know, I said on our game day show, and I think it was misinterpreted, was that their resume right now looks like a high mid-major resume. And what I meant by that was a high mid-major is only going to have a few opportunities to get a Quad 1 win, but they'll probably have one Quad 1 win on their schedule.
Right.
And they'll probably have a bunch of Quad 2 wins, which is what Carolina has. Now, Carolina's playing better now, but they've got to beat teams in the field. And right now they only have 1 win against the team in the field. And I know the teams they've lost to are really good.
Yeah.
But then those other, you know, the people on the other side, look, I lost out in the NCAA tournament bid to UAB and VCU. No one understands what playing in the ACC is all about and being basically screwed over more than I do. I mean, I had 48 months on the bubble. So, look, I have empathy on both sides. So, I mean, but in the end, you got to win some games. You know, our Tech team won a bunch of games and didn't get in.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, look, I think they're a good team. I think they're a post guy away from being a really good team. Unfortunately, they weren't able to secure that in the portal. And I like what they're doing in terms of making a commitment, in terms of hiring a general manager and being more in tune with the culture of college basketball today. So Carolina's going to be fine. But you got to earn your way into the NCAA tournament. You can't have a bad loss. Can't lose at Virginia Tech. Can't lose to the teams, some of the teams that you might play early in the ACC tournament. And then when you play Clemson, or, you know, you play teams that are in the field, you got to go beat them.
Yeah, the home loss to Stanford, and to an extent the loss at Wake Forest, will ultimately keep them out. Like, so here's my question, and like
Wake Forest is still going to be in the conversation if they win some games too now.
Yeah, they don't want to be in the field. I've watched them enough lately. It's clear that they would rather not. Based on their results.
Their roster is flawed because you can't lose Andrew Carr.
Yeah.
And you can't lose Boopy and replace those guys. And, Tyler was good, but he's inconsistent. And there's so much pressure on Salas and Hildreth that it's just, it's hard.
Yeah, and there's no question. Obviously, they want to be in the tournament. They have a crack tonight against the Blue Devils on a Monday night, so we'll see if what they bring. I mean, the point spread for this, and I know you don't really care. I'm stunned that it is a 20-point spread. I know how good Duke is, but, man, Wake's got to be super motivated for tonight. Seth Greenberg is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I wonder, because North Carolina did play, they played a ton of teams in this field that are going to be in the field, and they played a ton of teams that are going to be on the top line, maybe the top two lines. They could end up playing Duke 3 times. They played Alabama. They played Auburn. They played Florida. They played Michigan State. They played Kansas. Now, they lost all of those games. The only team they beat in the field, I believe, is UCLA.
UCLA.
Right?
UCLA.
And that was a comeback win, and they were fortunate to win at Notre Dame. I watched that game. That should have been a loss. They got lucky. Notre Dame didn't know how to play down the stretch and blew it, but still, they got a win. Good for them. But do you think the committee looks at, man, why did you schedule this way? If you had played a good schedule, not basically an NBA Eastern Conference schedule, then their record would be better. I don't know how you get away with, does the committee even take that into consideration? Because, man, if they had just played a normal schedule, their record probably looks better, and they probably have maybe a couple of better quad one wins.
Yeah, look, the committee takes everything into consideration. Here's the problem with the committee: every single person on the committee has their own criteria. They're looking at the resumes. They have all the information, but each one of them decides what's important to them. So for some people, I think that'll be a factor. Obviously, I think they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have 8 or 7 or 8 losses to teams that are, super wins or whatever they're calling them right now. Yeah, I understand that, but you got to be Clemson,
right? No, I'm with you. And you can't get blown out of the building by Clemson. And I thought Duke kind of was kind to them. It was merciful in the last 10 minutes of the Duke-Carolina game. Speaking of the Blue Devils, Cooper Flagg looks like he's going to be fine. Tyrese Proctor looks like he's going to be fine. And it looks like Malik Brown will return at some point, either ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament. We know Duke is great. How much of that is, though, that they have been in this league beating up teams that they really should beat up? And I know they thumped Illinois at Madison Square Garden. Are they as good as they look to you? What do you see as maybe a fatal flaw for them?
Yeah, I think they got to get Malik Brown back because he's an experienced front court guy. It's an elite defender that is a really good passer and has maturity. They got to get Tyrese healthy, 100%. He was playing great over the last 5 games, 16 points a game, shooting the cover off the ball and making good decisions. I think the move to Isaiah Evans has been brilliant by John, letting him earn his way in. He's been short of magnificent in terms of 50 from the 3 and shooting, I think, 16 points a game over the last 4 games, or 17 points a game over the last 4 games. I think he's 17 for 32 from the 3. And what does he do? He creates space because he's such a good shooter. You run him off those staggers, or you run him off those flare screens where they slip. If you put him in the corner, you got to stay home. Or you put him in one corner, you put Knipple in the other corner, and you run a middle ball screen with Malawach, you got a problem. Because who are you gonna basically come off of? Who are you gonna tag the roller with? Malawach has gotten better. I think they're terrific. I think the job John's done is spectacular. He's doing it in his own personality. He's doing it in his own way. He's got a quiet toughness about him. I think that he's not Coach K. He's John Shire, and John Shire's pretty damn good.
Seth Greenberg is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Who do you think the best team in the country is right now?
I think Auburn's the best team in the country because of the schedule they've played and the success they've had. They're not beating people; they're basically steamrolling people. So I would say right now, even though Duke beat them, and we can play, all the stuff. Well, who did Duke lose to? And then but I think that they can get the shot from who they want, when they want, where they want it. They are absolutely relentless and long and athletic and physical defensively. They have a number of different ways they can play. They can play fast. They can play slow. They can play through the post. Tahad Pettiford comes in, and all of a sudden he does his thing, which is he's like bringing Mariano off he's just a closer and brings in a different style. So I look at them and I say that this team is as complete. Now, could Duke beat them? Sure, they could beat them. They already beat them.
Yeah.
Could Florida beat them? Yeah, sure, they could beat them. They beat them at their place. So if you look at it, there's a fine line. But, to me, Florida, Duke, Auburn, I had Alabama in that conversation. Probably Florida, Duke, and Auburn have separated themselves. I do like outsider looking in, maybe a Michigan State.
Okay.
Just for the fact that their depth, they wear you down late in the game. They're really a pain to play against because they're coming out bodies. And Chase Richardson is just, that dude is something different now. I mean, he is really, really good. I think the tournament's going to be phenomenal. I really do. I think the tournament's going to be phenomenal. I think there are more good teams. I think there'll be, I wouldn't say upsets. Take a team like Illinois. They're finally healthy again.
Yeah.
How good are they? Iowa State, they got back Gilbert and Jones. All of a sudden, they played, they boat raced, Arizona. A sleeper team might be a BYU team. I'm interested to see how they play tonight, or I think it's tonight or tomorrow. They're really good offensively, and they can make shots, and they can get it up and down, and not great defensively yet. So there's a lot of good teams, a lot of really good teams. And I think that, look, Carolina, if they get in, they can win a game. The hardest thing is, and that's the hard thing, because the way they're playing now, as long as they play well these next few days, but we also have to take in consideration the teams that they beat in this 5-game win streak.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. Let me ask you one more thing before I let Seth Greenberg go. ESPN college basketball analyst and part-time resident of the Triangle, because twice a year College Game Day is here for Carolina and Duke. Rick Pitino and St. John's. I've long said that the city schools have no chance, unless you're coached by Rick Pitino, apparently. But what he's done with St. John's, what would you say about that job?
Spectacular. What he's done is imposed his identity on his team and his players. This is old school Rick Pitino without three-point shooting. They're physical and relentless defensively, like their Louisville teams were. They rebound the ball, like their Louisville teams did. The difference is this team doesn't shoot it, although they're shooting it better. But Kadira Richmond and R.J. Lewis are closers. They're closers. Kadira Richmond, 6'6", is hard to keep out of the lane. So, I mean, could I see a path where they're at, I always say when you have a short turnaround, that's when you look for the upset. Short turnarounds playing against them is going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Right.
Because you can't get your team ready in a short period of time for that. Basically, the rock fight that they're going to put on you, and then offensively they've gotten better.
Yeah, there's a mystique also about Rick Pitino. Real quick, are you in favor of an expanded NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I think what we need to do is have 4 regions for first fours, take the bottom 16 conferences. That means 8 of those teams will move on, which you'll still have opportunities for upsets. You can't have 20 conference leagues or 16 or 18 conference leagues. We're going to have 20 conference leagues and only expect 6 or 7 of those teams to get in the tournament. They're just going to beat each other up. So, yeah, I'm not saying 96. That 70-something number makes sense to me. That makes sense for now.
Yeah, I think what they need to do is just make all the, have an at-large in each region and, maybe the bottom, the 16s all play in. They just need to make it more balanced. But frankly, I'm not sure that there are 68 teams that belong in the field today, but we'll have more because the big conferences demand more. Seth Greenberg, ESPN. First of all, congratulations on another grandkid, and we will talk to you very soon.
You got it, brother. Appreciate you.
You got it. By the way, Seth made 2 baseball references. I just want to point that out. 2 baseball references. Shooting the cover off the ball. We know what that's about. That's baseball. And he kept calling people closers.
Yes.
And he mentioned Mariano Rivera.
Well, there you go.
So,
it's the season.
If we weren't pressed up against the clock, we would have talked baseball with Seth, but we'll do that next time. All right, when we come back, one-timers. We're on YouTube. You can always go to the stream and type a little question in the box there. YouTube.com/Adam Gold Show. One-timers.
Already got a couple.
Oh, look at that. Next.
Talking sports, dropping truth. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and we are exiting the shortest month of the year for March. And you know what that means. College basketball. And right now, new customers on FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's right, $150 of their money to use as you see fit, as long as you win your first $5 bet. Time for you new customers to join in. FanDuel.com/AGS. FanDuel.com/AGS. Get in on all the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel, 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Did you know? Along with keeping their local communities powered, public power line workers are part of a mutual aid network spanning the state and country. Public power crews help their neighbors when natural disasters damage electric systems. And that mutual aid network is one of the reasons public power has the highest reliability rating among energy providers, forming a camaraderie among line workers that's second to none. Interested in joining public power? Learn more about careers at electricities.com.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Dear North Carolina, for 70 incredible years, you've been by our side. From Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood to the wonders of Antiques Roadshow, from This Old House to NC Weekend, we've explored, learned, and grown together. Because of your support, PBS North Carolina has gone beyond the screen, inspiring, educating, and entertaining in classrooms, at home, and on the go. Celebrate with us when you watch new programming on PBS NC or stream anytime on the free PBS app. Learn more about PBS North Carolina at pbsnc.org.
Going to college gives you more career options. You could say it pays for itself, but it might not feel that way in the short term, especially when tuitions do. That's where the FAFSA comes in. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's your gateway to money for college, whether you're seeking scholarships, grants, work-study programs, or loans. It all starts with the FAFSA. So how about it? Make a plan for college and find everything you need for the FAFSA at cfnc.org.
AARP is working hard to make sure people in North Carolina are getting the most out of life. Whether it's helping you stay healthy, save more money, care for loved ones, or simply have some fun, AARP is making a difference in communities across the state. You have a wise friend and fierce defender with AARP. Learn more about progress being made for older adults in the state by listening to AARP Without Limits. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Electricity. It's what powers our lives, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. In North Carolina, 26 local electric cooperatives provide energy to 2.8 million people across the state. But we're providing so much more than affordable, reliable power. We're helping to strengthen the people and communities that make our state great, today and for generations to come. North Carolina's electric cooperatives. Power you can count on, now and always. Learn more at ncelectriccooperatives.com.
This is Adam Gold.
Frankly, I'm not sure that there is a sport that we could theoretically even put in the Olympics that isn't. I said bowling. Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Croquet? Lawn darts?
I'm waiting for cornhole.
Oh, there's somebody that thinks, yeah.
The Adam Gold Show.
I'm Adam Gold, Victoria. This is the Moulin Rouge from. This is not the original, correct?
No, they did this I want to say this was early 2000s potentially.
Yeah, which trying to think the movie it was in. Is this Shark Tale?
Yes.
Yeah, from Shark Tale. It's a ridiculous version of this song. Also, Shark Tale, Robert De Niro's best role.
Oh, there you go.
I'll fight anybody who disagrees with me. He's amazing as Don Lino.
Yeah. Hey.
Seriously. Also, Peter Falk as Don Feinberg. Very good.
Yeah.
Let's do one-timers.
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of Canes talk on the YouTube stream.
Way.
I know.
Top
it's
of the hour.
Shocker.
Top of the hour. This is, if we have a question about this, I am going to lay out the Mikko Rantanen conundrum at the top of the hour. So we'll probably push past Mikko questions here, but let's hear what you got.
Okay, so starting things off, a few people are same topic, basically about the power play. How should they fix the power play?
I know people don't want to hear this, but it's a player problem. It's not a plan problem. The same players, this is going to sound weird, the same players had one of the best 5 power plays in the sport for 2.5 months. Same exact players doing the same exact things. The problem right now is the players are just being too slow.
Mm-hmm.
Move the puck faster, move bodies faster. It's just that simple. I'd like to see more behind the goal line, but they've been behind the goal line, and they still do. There's just no movement. So it's about players. It isn't about anything else.
Yeah. Well, on the same lines of the power play, I know a couple different people have thrown out suggestions of players that should maybe be on the power play. So one said, should Sean Walker be on the power play, or also Jackson Blake? Any of those two?
Well, Blake, when Andre was in the box, Blake was on the top power play unit, and he's on the second unit, so he's out there. Jackson Blake is getting power play time. And the Hurricanes have put their best 5 players on the ice. When one of them isn't in the penalty box, Andre fought yesterday before the 4-minute double minor late in the third period. You've got Aho and Jarvis and Andre and Rantanen and Gostisbehere. It's the best 5 they could put out there. They're just moving too slow.
Yeah. Well, the next big topic with the team, goalie situation. Yeah. So, someone also asks, should we just cross our fingers again for the playoffs? How can we get back to a top-tier 60-minute defense?
Oh, those are 2 different questions.
Yes,
right?
they are, but it's the same person.
Same person, 2 questions. The goalie thing, unless they make a trade, these are the goalies, and hopefully one of them will emerge. I thought Piotr played the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the second period. He was awesome. He had to make a lot of really good saves. He didn't have anything to do in the first period. Literally, Calgary had 1 shot, and it had 0 chance of going in. And there's no way. Kochetkov could have made that save asleep. But the first part of the second period, Calgary could have scored 4 goals, and Kochetkov was really good. So, good on him. I'd love to see one of them. Like last year, Frederik Andersen was awesome his last 10 starts. But we haven't seen either of them do that. Kochetkov didn't see a lot of shots yesterday, but he played very well in the second period. I thought the goal he should have stopped. The Kadri goal, I thought he should have stopped that, but whatever. He didn't, but he really didn't have a lot to do the rest of the way either. So I'd love to see one of the goalies emerge. As for defense, not sure that's fixable. You might have to make a trade to get better, but maybe Jacob Slavin can play 60 minutes. That would be good.
Making more sports sense than social media trolls. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Your home for NBA live betting. If you have missed the start of the game, fret not. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. And new customers can get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Take Luka and the Lakers and LeBron and whatever the over is, just do that. Because right now they're over in terms of fun. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. $150 in bonus bets waits. Win your first $5 wager. Cash in on their money. FanDuel. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The Pack Therapy Podcast is in session thanks to First Horizon Bank. Tim Donnelly here, host of The Drive, alongside Wolfpack legend Casey Morsell.
Every episode is your chance to score inside information on the Pack.
We'll set you up for Wolfpack games all season long.
And we break down the ACC competition, what to watch for as we roll towards the tournament madness.
Plus special guests to keep Wolfpack hope alive.
Follow and subscribe to Pack Therapy wherever you discover your favorite podcast or watch on YouTube.
WREL News at 6 is coverage you can count on. Get the biggest stories of the day and breaking news as it happens.
Plus, complete weather coverage of your town.
WREL News has everything you need when you need it, including this special report.
A local woman reported what she thought was an Oprah scam.
No phone number, and they want my social. Delete.
She called 5 on your side, and that call changed everything.
The load of packages. He was struggling.
Tonight at 6.
Tim Donnelly here for Zero Res. Now, as many of you know, my wife just had our second child, little baby girl, and parents say it with me. Kids are messy. We have a toddler, we have a newborn. There's dirt, there's crumbs, there's everything everywhere. And that means spring cleaning can't come here soon enough. So why wait? Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. The number is 919-995-0000, or you can go online at ZeroResRaleigh.com. Just say you want the $99.9 The Fan special. They'll know what that means. It's 3 rooms of carpets cleaned starting at $119 plus 20% off air duct cleaning as well. All you have to do is visit ZeroResRaleigh.com or call 919-995-0000 and ask for the $99.9 The Fan special. Spell it backward or forward, it spells the same, Zero Res.
The next disaster is coming. Make a plan. Keep extra medication on hand. Make copies of important documents. Stay informed and be ready. Learn more at americares.org/send-us-in.
Jackson Hewitt wants you to save money on tax prep. We're saving money by having our intern rap in this commercial.
Don't stress, Jackson Hewitt's got expert tax prep, $149 or less. Yo, some tax guys lie about price. They got hidden fees, that ain't nice. Ain't nice. Don't ignore MC Kevin's rhyme, cause this deal's for a limited time. $149.
For tax prep that's $149 or less, hurry into Jackson Hewitt today.
No cap.
Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
They score! WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Lubin down low and goes high post to Cadeau. Now he finds Lubin, gets the layup to go, and draws the foul as well. Cadeau fakes the pass, now finds Lubin down low for the two-handed dunk. Davis stops, drives, retreats, finds down low. There's Lubin again for the layup. Trimble looking in the post, goes high post to Jackson, flips it down low. Hey, guess who? Lubin for 2 more.
You're listening to The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Carolina with their 5th win in a row over Miami. The 6th has to come at Virginia Tech this week. Then take your swing against Duke. And then Win as many games as you can in Charlotte at the ACC tournament. I will tell you before we get into the Mikko Rantanen conundrum, best case scenario for UNC without beating Duke. This is the best case scenario right now. And I've said before that while it is far from a guarantee, I don't think that they are out of contention for an at-large bid without beating Duke. I do not think they're out of contention. I think they could still get in. But there is a reason why we're still having this discussion in spite of the fact that they have won 5 in a row. Not a single one of those victories is anything more than a Twinkie. Twinkies are Twinkies delicious?
I mean, I've heard they've changed over the years.
Really?
Yeah.
It literally has been 30 years since I've had a Twinkie. What could they have possibly changed? By the way, if you can have a Twinkie and a Chocodile, why would you ever have a Twinkie?
Yeah, see, I didn't have my first Twinkie until Zombieland came out, the movie.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I never had one. I'm like, now I've got to have one.
The Chocodile is a chocolate-covered Twinkie. Why wouldn't that always be the option?
Right.
But basically, that's what they are. These 5 wins were nothing. There was no nutritional value at all to any of these 5 wins. So there were all cases of don't lose. All right, you've achieved that. You got to do that against Virginia Tech. Now, here's how Carolina gives themselves the best chance to win a 6th this week against the Hokies in Blacksburg. Even with a loss to Duke, set themselves up at the ACC tournament to win twice. And a 3rd game would, who knows who that's against. Wake comes to Cameron Indoor Stadium tonight, loses, and then beats Georgia Tech. So Wake finishes 13-7 in the league. Carolina wins at Virginia Tech. We've already said part of this equation is for them, still getting without beating Duke. Lose to Duke, they finish 13-7. And SMU wins twice this week. Right now, it's a 3-way tie between SMU, Wake, and Carolina. SMU wins twice, home against Syracuse, at Florida State, finishing 14-6. They would get the 4 seed, SMU. By the way, welcome to the Atlantic Coast Conference. Made it to the conference title game in football. Could get a double bye in basketball. Pretty good. In that scenario, Wake, by virtue of their win over UNC, would get the 5 seed, which would put Carolina in the 6 hole, which means that they would be in the middle of the bracket against Clemson or Louisville in their 2nd game. You get the first bye, then you play against somebody you should pummel, and then your next game is either Clemson or Louisville, depending on who's the 2 and who's the 3. I think Clemson would be the 3 right now, which isn't necessarily great for Carolina because Clemson is a terrible matchup. But there's your opportunity at a quad 1 win. And if you can pick up that one, you'd play the other one, Louisville, next. Maybe you get 2. And if you got to the final and lost to Duke, you'd be like, oh, wait, whatever. So that's the scenario for UNC. If you finish 4th or 5th, it might not be great because that would be an earlier game against Duke. But again, maybe you can beat Duke. I don't anticipate it, but maybe you can. And I don't know, your best chance is probably Saturday against the Blue Devils. But that is your best case scenario. And I will say this, and I brought it up with Seth Greenberg last hour. I wonder if the super strength of UNC's non-conference schedule will work in their favor. Yes, I know they didn't win any of those games. But man, overtime with Michigan State, you battled with Kansas. You spotted them a big lead, fought back, had the lead at one point in that game. So it's not like they have been destroyed. Could have beaten Florida. It's not like they've been destroyed by all of these teams. And I wonder if that will work in their favor at some point in the committee, if it is down to essentially splitting hairs between two teams that both of them, I'm not sure either of them really belong, but we got to take one of them. So maybe we take the team that played against all of these other behemoths during the course of the year. That is maybe an optimistic way of looking at it. All right, coming up, we'll talk to Brian Geisinger about the way these teams are playing coming up in about 15 minutes. Right now, take two. And for the sake of this segment, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Mikko Rantanen. What is going to happen or what should happen, it really depends entirely on your perspective. Because the Hurricanes have to determine two things. The first is, what are you with Mikko Rantanen? What are you? Are you a legitimate Stanley Cup contender with Mikko Rantanen? And if the answer to that is yes, and we'll get into my thoughts on that in a second, because their thoughts are the only ones that matter here. If they decide that with Mikko Rantanen, we absolutely can win a Stanley Cup, well then the answer to part two of this equation doesn't matter. Because you made this trade, there is no chance that you can recoup what you gave up to get him. No chance. So if you believe you are a Stanley Cup contender with him, then that's the answer. We don't have to go any further. But if you decide that, probably not, which, for the sake of this conversation, that's where I am. I don't think they are. So if the team thinks probably not, they have to determine then, can we re-sign him? If the answer to that is, because the only way they would really know is if they've been given kind of an inclination as to what his plans are. And I don't know what has transpired between Mikko Rantanen, his agent, him, like as a human being, and the team. What has been reported has been, well, he's not ready to sign. That doesn't mean he won't, but he's not ready to sign. But if the team believes, we're not gonna be able to re-sign him, and we don't think we're really a Stanley Cup contender with him, well then, when do you want your embarrassment pill? Because it doesn't matter when it happens, if and when Mikko Rantanen moves on to another team, whether it's by Friday at the trade deadline or on July 1 in free agency, the Hurricanes are going to be publicly humiliated. Because for the second straight year, you made the biggest swing at the trade deadline and you weren't able to keep that player. Set aside the Jake Guentzel thing in a second because it has an impact here. But on its face, you made this trade for Mikko Rantanen, and I said earlier that there was bad juju, not about the trade, but about the way it was talked about right off the hop. And it was irresponsible and wrong right off the hop, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. I love Paul Bissonnette, but Paul Bissonnette said from Jump Street, Mikko Rantanen will never sign there, based on Jake Guentzel. All right, we're going to get back to Guentzel in a second. I think it was Nick Kyprios of Sportsnet. Mikko Rantanen is going to sign there, based on Paul Bissonnette's comments about Jake Guentzel. Bad faith arguments. Both of them, bad faith arguments. I promise Jake Guentzel wanted to be here. He would have re-signed had the Hurricanes offered him the contract 2 weeks prior to July 1. But they didn't. They tried to get him to accept the lower number, which is their prerogative. And they had salary cap issues. Eric Tulsky's talked about that. But they could have done it. They tried to get him to accept a lower number. It got close to the day of free agency. They finally did. Remember, they met. We met his offer. 8 times 8. But at that point, it was too late. Gensel would have signed if they had just gotten to that point sooner. So it ain't like Gensel didn't want to be here. He did. And then, no state income tax, chance to play with Kucherov and Point. One guy definitely a Hall of Famer, the other guy probably a Hall of Famer. I get it. So, the Gensel thing has been misrepresented from the start. Now how it goes forward. If the Hurricanes can't re-sign Mikko Rantanen, if they know that they can't re-sign Mikko Rantanen when the season is over, and they don't believe that they are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender with him, then they have a decision to make. When do we want to be publicly flogged by the hockey universe? Do we want to be flogged on Friday, but maybe recoup some things that can help us not only the rest of this year, but going forward? Or do we want to be publicly flogged on July 1 when he signs a contract somewhere else? That's the decision. When do you want to eat your humble pie? My feeling is that if they don't think that they are a Stanley Cup contender and that they won't be able to re-sign him, my feeling is you move him now. Move him now. See if you can get a piece that, A, can help you. It won't be Mikko Rantanen, good. But maybe you can get something that will help you next year, the year after. We talked about this. I talked about it on the podcast. I encourage you. Go check out the latest Canes Corner podcast right now. If you want to just dial it up on YouTube, you can. You can certainly subscribe and like. This is a cheap way of getting a plug-in for the podcast, true. But I talked about this for, about 10 minutes at like 22:47 on YouTube. Go to it. Go check it out. Carolina has, right now, a need in goal because neither Anderson or Kochetkov has played well enough that you shouldn't believe, that they can be good enough in the playoffs to steal you around. And you don't necessarily have to have a round stolen for you, but the way they have played with the power play as it is, goals have been at a premium, which means you're going to need lights-out goaltending to give yourself a chance to make the second round. They have holes on defense because Dmitry Orlov has not been good, and Brent Burns has been kind of a mixed bag, and maybe that's being kind. When he's not turning it over, I think he's been fine, but I do think he's playing too many minutes, but Carolina really doesn't have a lot of options. So you got Slavin, you've got Chatfield. Those are your two defensive-minded defensemen. Man, they could really use another guy who could skate and defend. So those two things are glaring needs for me right now, which is why if somebody asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, give me the Hurricanes, where you put the Hurricanes as Stanley Cup contenders, I would say 6. That, to me, is not a Stanley Cup contender. Now, granted, and we're going to talk to Greg Wyshynski tomorrow, and Cory Lavalette will join us next hour, by the way. The East has sort of come wide open. Florida just acquired Seth Jones. Jones hasn't been really good, but maybe he's been really bad because he's in Chicago and they're awful. He's going to Florida. Matthew Tkachuk was just put on long-term injured reserve, so now they have more money. Florida is going to completely load up. I don't know. Florida looks pretty good, but after that, does anybody really trust Toronto? Carolina, without too much, Carolina could be in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's the part of this equation that is so odd to me, is that I don't have great confidence that Carolina will be good enough, except I look at their side of the draw and I think, man, they might win 2 rounds on this side because I don't want to doubt Washington, but I still think Washington has been really greater than their individual parts. The sum has been greater. And maybe Washington will be this year's Hurricanes from the first year of the playoff run. It's very possible. But it might just break in their favor to win a couple of rounds. But I just think you're asking for breaks.
I feel like this is a page out of the Carolina Panthers book where maybe this year was supposed to be a rebuild year, but we're deciding, oh no, never mind, let's not do that and try to plug the pieces in as fast as we can.
It was supposed to be a retool year.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to the beginning of the season. I use this in the intermission. We're going to break here. If I had told you at the beginning of the season that with 21 games to play, the Hurricanes would be in second place in the Metropolitan Division, you would have thought you were trailing the Rangers or maybe the Devils. You would have gone, yeah, I'll take it. Every single Hurricanes fan would have signed for that then. But we watched the first 25 games. And we thought, oh my gosh, this team is good. Really good. I did too. I'm not going to lie. All the offense masked the problems that we're seeing now. The offense has dried up. Power play has gone away. Defense, goaltending, still a problem. All right, when we come back, Brian Geisinger on hoops, North Carolina, what's obviously working, what isn't working for NC State, and Duke. Well, Duke's good. All of that with Brian Geisinger next.
Chapel Hill to Charlotte, Greenville to Greensboro. Your sports, his state. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
Kevin Keats and state basketball have to do something, and I'll tell you what that is. They have to acknowledge what is happening. This season, it's a failure. That's not to say each individual player isn't working harder. There's no likable people in the program. It's just that after last season, this season, it's not enough. And you have to figure out how to fix it for next season.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Hi, it's Adam Gold from my friend Gordon Miller, Miller Lending, Kildare Farm Road and Cary. And guess what? Mortgage rates have dropped by about a half point in the last month. So you know what that means. The person who paid fees for a rate when they were told the rates were never coming down, you can get the same rate right now without paying closing costs. No closing costs, free money. Actually, you can even get a better rate. Miller Lending on Kildare Farm Road and Cary. Gordon Miller invented the no closing cost mortgage in 1987, so you wouldn't be hamstrung by closing cost fees. Fees add up. Thousands of dollars that come out of your account, real money. You can save that, lower your monthly payment, and by the way, the rates will continue to drop, but you don't have to wait. Do it now, and then do it again a year from now. Miller Lending, keep saving. It's your money. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 250-2146.
Well, springtime is on the way, and the next couple of months are going to be critical for lawn care. That's why we're back with Kevin from Fairway Green. Crabgrass, weeds, fertilizer, time to get busy.
Now's a fantastic time to put down your first application of crabgrass control, and if you have a cool season lawn, it's a great time to put down fertilizer and broadleaf weed control. Broadleaf weeds never stop.
Great advice as usual. Nothing beats a Fairway Green lawn. Request a free estimate online at fairwaygreen.com. Or call 919-329-0095.
It's bow time.
Finally, lunchtime. I'm starving.
What's that?
This is the Bojangler from Bojangles.
Ooh, with the same bold flavor as their chicken?
The same.
And fries.
The same.
Huh. Well, I've got a PB&J.
Yeah, that's not the same.
A crispy fish fillet dusted in Bo's famous seasoning. With cheese and tartar sauce on a fluffy bun, the Bojangler's back. Hook one while you can. It's bow time.
There's no time like Bojangler time. Time to stop whatever you're doing and head over to Bojangles to try the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. You heard right, the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. A perfectly seasoned, light, flaky, wild-caught Alaskan pollock fish fillet sandwich. For limited time at participating Bojangles. Make it a combo and add Bojangles seasoned fries and legendary iced tea. Hungry for Bojangles but in the mood for something different? Then it's Bojangler time.
Injured in a motorcycle accident? Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS before you call your insurance company. The insurance company wants to pay you the least amount possible. Law Tigers are riders too, so we understand what your bike and gear are worth and what you're going through after an accident. Your case evaluation is always free, and we don't get paid until your case settles. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS, North Carolina's motorcycle lawyers. Law Tigers is a network of independent law firms who are members of the American Association of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. Law Tigers is not a law firm.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
This is Adam Gold.
80-second mark, I scream in the booth. I screamed in the booth. Why the heck is he still on the ice?
Did you say it in Finnish?
I should have.
Yes.
No, he wouldn't. He curses in English.
He does.
2 seconds later, he scored.
Yes.
And I went, oh, that's why. That's what.
The Adam Gold Show.
Go. It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria is producing the program. Brian Geisinger, our basketball brainiac at BGeis_Bird on Twitter. Split the action on Substack. Buzzbeat Podcast, 24/7 Sports, Pack Bride, all of that. All right, let's just start with NC State so we can move past it. Man, this has... I watch your post-game pods with Corey Smith a lot. What are your thoughts on what has I don't even know if unraveled is the right word. They were never raveled at any point this year. So what are your thoughts on where this really went sideways for the Wolfpack? It's not mathematically done. If they win their last two and Notre Dame loses to Stanford and Cal at home this week, the Wolfpack will still get to Charlotte, but I don't anticipate them winning two, and Notre Dame's probably going to win one anyway. So where did this all go sideways?
Yeah, I mean, it just never really quite got off the ground. And when you have something like that, I think you have to go back to the previous offseason and roster construction. We've talked about multiple times on the show or texting off air, whatever. You and I have sort of talked about the roster and how it came together, how it didn't come together.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of there's different people want to place the blame in different areas, but regardless of how you assess that, they didn't. This is not a roster that has a lot of plus offensive talent on it, and they lost their two best playmakers and shot creators from a season ago with DJ Horn and DJ Burns. They also lost Mo Diarra, who was a really good player for them. Good rebounder. Maybe their best defender, could also do stuff for them offensively, and they just never found a real way to replace the playmaking of Horn and Burns. I think Styles has come in and played pretty well as like a stretch four for them this season. He's not the same rebounder defender and versatile defender as Diarra, but he's been probably their most reliable player offensively. And so I think it really comes down to it's not just not having enough shooters on the team, but I think part of it too is also not having really someone that can operate pick and roll, get two to the ball offensively, create advantages, and set up easy shots for everyone else. Because I think there are a lot of good players on the roster, but just not nearly enough plus offensive talent to really bend and manipulate defenses. And they routinely are unable to score consistently in half court. And obviously, the defense hasn't been great this season either. I think there's a few things we can sort of point the finger at for that as well, but really it's the offense that has just been stuck in the mud, game one through this past weekend against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they got run second half. I don't know what happened down the stretch, but I know a lot of people go, well, they gave up. I hate that term. I don't think players, even at this level, do a lot of giving up. But I do think you can get discouraged, and when you get discouraged, you stop playing the way you're supposed to play because it ain't working. And maybe guys are out looking for their own offense, and that's never a recipe to stick around in a game. Brian Geisinger is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. They seem to me to have a number of good players, maybe not plus players, maybe not B plus players, but in this ACC, am I crazy to think that, man, they shouldn't be 16th? Is that nuts to think?
Yeah.
Right? It is crazy?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it, too, is they had some bad luck in close games. That's part of it. They lost I don't know. I don't have the record in front of me in terms of 1 to 2 possession games, but my guess would be that it wasn't great this season. I think they probably still should have been better against in a down year for the ACC. But, I think it just really goes to show you, if you're going to really struggle, to consistently generate offense in the half court, it's tough to win games almost regardless of competition. And I think for State, there's just been a template for how to defend them this season. They've been able to, and they have not been able to, bust up that template. And I think even for some of the weaker teams in the league, a la Georgia Tech, they can get stops, and that allows them to then, go play complimentary basketball more on the other end too. So, a disappointing season for sure. Some bad luck involved, but ultimately, they probably also underachieved some this season too.
Brian Geisinger is joining us. Split the action on Substack. You should check it out. All right, to the Tar Heels. 5 in a row, no good teams, but what have you liked that is carry-overable to this week, next week?
Yeah, I think it starts with the forwards. I mean, Jalen Withers continues to shoot the ball well. That's a big deal, giving them that stretch, spacing component in the front court. All season long, they've been trying to find the right roster combination so that they could space the floor, but still have enough size defensively and guys that could flash and finish around the paint. And with Drake Powell, who's been excellent, in the last couple of weeks, and UNC's been very, very good with Drake on the court. He was certainly an upside guy for them all season. I mean, if they were ever going to hit another gear, it was going to be because he sort of took on a larger, share of the role offensively, at least from my vantage point. But Withers coming on and being a front court athlete that can also stick some catch and shoot threes for them too, it just makes everything else blend in the half court, right? Because all of a sudden you've got multiple guys that can initiate pick and roll and can shoot and play make and pass with Davis and Cadeau. Jackson as a spot up shooter. Powell is the guy that can catch and go and can flash and can drive. It just the pieces fit in better with another sort of catch and shoot component alongside Jackson and Davis, who had really been the two guys that had been reliable, spot up, catch and shoot guys for them this season. And even then, Davis and Jackson have both been up and down a little bit too. So I would say the Withers development and also Powell just sort of stepping into a pretty serious role. And even in this 5-game win streak, and they've won 6 of their last 7, the minutes of Powell on the court have been really, really good.
All right, so we're going to kick this forward by bringing up the Duke-Carolina game here coming up on Saturday. And I'm not automatically giving the Virginia Tech win on the road to the Tar Heels, but they have to have it. And Duke, I guess if they, I don't know, I don't think they've clinched anything yet, so Duke needs to beat Wake Forest tonight at home. But looking ahead to Saturday, does North Carolina's setup with Withers and Powell and whether it's Lubin or Washington at the 5, Can they be good enough defensively to beat Duke?
I mean, it's a big ask, but I think so. Yeah, I think they can. I mean, we've seen, we know how UNC wants to defend. They want to keep teams out of the middle or play drop coverage. I mean, maybe they'll mix it up. They'll switch at times, and they'll trap at times too. But for the most part, you know what they want to do. And if they're able to be able to space the court offensively with Withers and Powell on that side of the court, then they have more size for the Cooper Flag matchup, and you don't have to have Seth Trimble guard him for 30 whatever minutes. And then you can maybe single cover Flag in the post. That was such a swing piece from the first matchup was Cooper in the post and UNC starting off the game double teaming him and Duke being able to play out of that. If it's Powell or Withers, that's not that matchup is still. I mean, Duke's still going to go to Cooper Flag, obviously, and they're going to go to him in the spots that he likes, and the mid post is one of them. But that matchup is not quite as it's not quite as ripe maybe for Duke. And then again, if you can be in the gaps defensively and you're playing drop coverage, you can force Duke to be a pull up shooting team as opposed to a team that's able to slash and kick and spray out. Then yeah, I think it's possible. Obviously, Duke's offense is terrific. They've got a lot of great players. The scheme is excellent, and they've really been clicking. And obviously, Isaiah Evans, he's gone up a level for them throughout the season, and that's given them another gear. And who knows what Malik Brown and Tyrese Proctor's status will look like for that game too, right?
Right.
I mean, Proctor, really important player from a passing and shooting standpoint. He had a great game against UNC last time. Malik Brown came back from his first set of injuries in the UNC game, and he was outstanding for them, right? And we talked about after that game, his ability to pass and make plays in the high post or on the short roll is a really nice solve against some of the stuff that UNC wants to do defensively too. So, if those guys aren't playing, and if UNC is able to, put more size and length on Flag, then yeah, I think there's somewhat of a blueprint. But obviously, it's still going to be really hard. And obviously, the home crowd, having 20,000 people screaming behind you, that doesn't hurt either, right?
They should probably. I'll borrow from the late Bill Guthridge, who after their crazy snow game against Maryland, he referenced back to it, basically talking about the crowd. He goes, and if that doesn't work, we'll just bring in more snow. Maybe North Carolina should have another snowstorm so they get 15,000 students in the building to lose their collective minds. Although I think it'll be a great atmosphere for the Duke game either way. The one thing about North Carolina, Brian Geisinger is joining us here in the Adam Gold Show. The one thing I over the last few games for North Carolina that's been really good, and I'm not sure that this matters based on the level of competition, is that Carolina's been excellent on the offensive glass. So over this 5-game winning streak, they've been, in the, roughly give or take 40%, collecting their own misses. If they can do that, and Duke's a great defensive rebounding team, so it might be a bad matchup, but if they can get some second chance opportunities, to me that's the recipe. Duke missing a bunch of threes, and Carolina getting second chances. That to me is where North Carolina can be effective.
Yeah, that's how you swing the math, right? You get, you take a great 3-point shooting team. They have a C- shooting night, and then UNC scrambles up the math a little bit by getting on the glass and by not having a lot of turnovers, right? And so you just get extra shots, extra possessions. And obviously UNC they still have a lot of offensive talent on this roster.
They do.
And so if you're able to have more possessions than normal, you're probably going to cash it in. And second chance opportunities, especially when they're direct putbacks, those are efficient offensive opportunities. Those are layups. Those are fouls. You get all kinds of good stuff out of that. And certainly this is part of the benefit of having being able to play Powell and Withers together, and just having sort of more size and length on the floor, while also still being able to stretch it, but certainly being able to have guys like that can get on the glass, and that's part of it. Duke is a very good defensive rebounding team. Flag is an amazing defensive rebounder.
Yeah.
And Malawach is probably like up and down as a rebounder from like a prospect evaluation standpoint, but ultimately he does a pretty good job controlling the glass for Duke too. So it's not easy just to get up and really like do damage against those guys. That said, I think like one of the weak spots for Duke this season has been front court second play, like two experienced like true like big guys against them. Like Clemson with Locken and Shefflin, Kansas with Dickinson and Adams, and I'm blanking on
Kentucky.
Kentucky, I guess, with Williams and Carr and Garrison, I guess would be another one worth mentioning too. And Auburn as well. I mean, Duke won that game, but it was close in Cameron, and Auburn blitzed them at the start.
Yeah.
And Auburn's front line of Broom and Cardell and Johnson is obviously very, very good and experienced and strong.
Yeah,
too.
and we know why Duke won that game. Isaiah Evans won that game in the first 6 threes in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. We talked to Seth Greenberg earlier. I asked him who the best team in the country was. I think he gave the right answer. I think Auburn is the best team in the country. It'll be a challenge for the Blue Devils. I'd love to see Duke and Auburn meet again because more than likely that would be in either a national championship game or a national semifinal. They're both going to be 1 seeds. Final thing for you, Brian Geisinger, Buzzbeat podcast, split the action on Substack. Wake what's Wake's chances tonight against the Blue Devils?
Well, I know the spread is gigantic. I saw it was
19.5, Brian.
It's crazy.
19.5.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought the UNC game was going to be closer than some of the projection models had it, and I ended up being wrong about that. But Wake defensively, like this is a good defensive team. They've got a good front court with Spillers and Reed. When these two teams met up in Winston a few weeks ago, Wake almost won that game. I guess it was 5-6 weeks ago. Wake almost won that game. It took Duke going to zone defense and Cooper Flagg making some big plays down the stretch. Look, I think offensively Wake can struggle at times this season. A little reliant on Salas for shot creation. They don't have a ton of shooting in the front court. Although I do like sort of like what Duke Harris does for them as a catch and shoot guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think defensively, like if Wake can get the game into the mud, then they do have a chance. I also think the way Wake wants to defend, putting 2 on the ball, double team the post, hard hedge ball screens, like Duke has stuff lined up for that. And can capitalize off the advantage. And I guess we'll just see. I'm still waiting word on Tyrese Proctor and Malik Brown. I mean, if they're without 2 of their top 6 guys, 2 top 6 or 7 guys, I mean that matters too. So, but I would give Wake somewhat of a chance. Like this is a good team, and they've got good players on it, and they're going to be desperate. I mean, they need this game, more than Duke does, really.
There is no doubt about it that Duke doesn't need anything but health, right?
I mean, to an extent, Duke kind of. I mean, I guess I don't mean to downplay it. It's like Duke. If Duke wants to win the ACC and be the 1 seed in the ACC tournament, they need to win this game. And if they're thinking about setting up their bracket, March Madness opportunities for as good as possible, like they want to be the best 1 seed available.
Right.
That matters in terms of who you're playing potentially in the 3rd, 4th rounds, like that kind of stuff. So it matters significantly for both teams. Just Wake, this is more, I guess, like existential than anything.
Brian Geisinger, 24/7 Sports, Pac Pride, Buzzbeat podcast, everywhere. Split the action on Substack. My man, I appreciate your time as always. Talk to you later.
Yeah, you guys take care.
You got it. Brian Geisinger here on the Adam Gold Show. I don't want to minimize what the game means to Duke because it does mean something. One, you want to make sure you finish first, right? If you're Duke, and I am not. I roll my eyes at the regular season champions because the regular season champions, Virginia's been like beating this drum forever. The schedule you play matters. When you've got 18 teams in a league and you play 20 conference games, like I do the math, you're going to play 3 teams twice and the other 15 teams? No, 2 teams twice. I don't even know. 2 teams twice and the other 16 teams once. Whatever the number is. I have bad math. Whatever it is, the schedules are just not the same. So it's pointless. It's just self-aggrandizing to even talk about regular season champions. But Duke does want to finish first, get the 1 seed at the ACC tournament. I don't know how much they'll be motivated to win the ACC tournament, but my feeling has always been this. Oh, there's a trophy? Well, we should go win that trophy. Right? It doesn't hurt you to win. These guys are going to play anyway. So it doesn't hurt you to win. And the more trophies you have, the more wins that you have, as Brian said at the end, yeah, it gives you a chance to be the number 1 overall seed. What does that ultimately mean? Not a ton. But Duke doesn't want to slip up at the end and jeopardize being a 1 seed at all. Not that necessarily will happen, but you don't want to at least throw it into the possibility bin. So Duke's going to have some motivation to play well. But I also think that if we've been paying attention to Duke, because we can get lost in the easy nature of some of their wins. We've been joking about it. You can't set the line high enough at this point for the way the Blue Devils are playing. Miami at home win by 30-something. Florida State on the road, 23-point favorites are give it. Duke has been playing with a standard in mind, a level of performance in mind, that there's a reason why that line is where it is tonight. Because Duke, right now, is absolutely laying waste to their opposition. Because they are playing to a standard. And there's been a debate. I'm not getting into... Pat Kelsey's done an amazing job. He's going to be the ACC's Coach of the Year. But to dismiss the job that John Shire has done this year because, Duke's got Cooper Flagg and they've got Kamen Malawach and they got they've got a great team. That's also part of it. I don't know why we decide that doesn't matter. Because roster building is part of coaching. But also, in this ACC, to get this team to play the way it has played, virtually game in and game out, when everybody knows what the result's going to be. And to be perfectly honest, it would take a fair amount of playing down to their competition, even tonight, as good as Wake is, for Duke to not win the game. Because I think they're going to win the game, and I think there's a really good chance they win going away. Because the Wake Forest I watched not defend last week against Virginia, that team exists. The team doesn't want to joke with Seth Greenberg. The team doesn't want to be in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, that is a facetious statement, but they have really gone away. I think Duke plays the game to play a certain way and perform a certain way. Look, if they miss shots, they miss shots. But I think they win comfortably tonight. I do. And then Saturday's game matters to them. And like it always matters to North Carolina, Saturday's game matters to them. I think they would relish going into the Smith Center and bludgeoning, not literally, we've been there, but absolutely pummeling UNC. I think they relish that. And they should at this point because it's about playing to a standard for them. All right, we'll come back. We will stretch. We will place bets next.
Questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold for my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel. Again, America's #1 sports book, because FanDuel's your home for live NBA betting. So even if you miss the start of the game, you're not out of luck. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/AGS. FanDuel.com/AGS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. FanDuel, make every moment more. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Did you know? Along with keeping their local communities powered, public power line workers are part of a mutual aid network spanning the state and country. Public power crews help their neighbors when natural disasters damage electric systems. And that mutual aid network is one of the reasons public power has the highest reliability rating among energy providers, forming a camaraderie among line workers that's second to none. Interested in joining public power? Learn more about careers at electricities.com.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Dear North Carolina, for 70 incredible years, you've been by our side. From Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood to the wonders of Antiques Roadshow, from This Old House to NC Weekend, we've explored, learned, and grown together. Because of your support, PBS North Carolina has gone beyond the screen, inspiring, educating, and entertaining in classrooms, at home, and on the go. Celebrate with us when you watch new programming on PBS NC or stream anytime on the free PBS app. Learn more about PBS North Carolina at pbsnc.org.
Going to college gives you more career options. You could say it pays for itself, but it might not feel that way in the short term, especially when tuitions do. That's where the FAFSA comes in. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's your gateway to money for college. Whether you're seeking scholarships, grants, work-study programs, or loans, it all starts with the FAFSA. So how about it? Make a plan for college and find everything you need for the FAFSA at cfnc.org.
AARP is working hard to make sure people in North Carolina are getting the most out of life. Whether it's helping you stay healthy, save more money, care for loved ones, or simply have some fun, AARP is making a difference in communities across the state. You have a wise friend and fierce defender with AARP. Learn more about progress being made for older adults in the state by listening to AARP Without Limits. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Electricity. It's what powers our lives, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. In North Carolina, 26 local electric cooperatives provide energy to 2.8 million people across the state. But we're providing so much more than affordable, reliable power. We're helping to strengthen the people and communities that make our state great, today and for generations to come. North Carolina's electric cooperatives. Power you can count on, now and always. Learn more at ncelectriccooperatives.com.
This is Adam Gold.
Did you see what Duke is paying the quarterback that they pulled out of the portal from Tulane?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. 2-year deal, $4 million per.
Oh, wow.
Per. So.
Do they want a quarterback named Victoria?
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Cory Lavalette, North State Journal and The Athletic, will talk Hurricanes with us in about 25 minutes. Canes picked up 2 points last night, 2 points they absolutely had to have. But we'll talk about the state of the team. Mikko Rantanen and his, 11 games here? 5-6-1. He missed one, so I think he's played 11 games for the Hurricanes now. But we'll talk about this era and whether or not it's going to end by Friday or extend. Still think there's a better chance than anything. The most likely scenario is that Mikko is here through the balance of the season. Then he gets traded. Although there are lots of rumors out there. Right now, before we bet, let's stretch.
Well, one thing you could bet on, or maybe could have bet on, was Mr. Beast had a new challenge. So I don't know if you've heard about this.
No, I have not.
Mr. Beast, I'm pretty sure, isn't he from North Carolina or
I have
East Coast?
no idea.
I think he is. He's a YouTube guy who's got a ton of money, and he likes to give it away by having people do silly things or.
I'm here for that.
Oh yeah. Well, the newest silly thing that he did is very Squid Gamey. I don't know if you've seen Squid Games,
No,
but
have not.
this new challenge, he had 100 people stand in circles, and the last person to leave won $500,000.
Wow.
So you might think, oh, this is super easy, no big deal. No, this actually went on for about a week. And I do have so many questions, like, what if you have to go to the bathroom? Is everybody wearing diapers? Like, because you cannot leave this circle. And they literally have it laid out where it looks like artificial grass with a red line around it. And you could not pass the red line, so you had to stay in your little patch of fake grass for as long as possible. They also threw in little challenges, which is very Squid Gamey, because at the very end, there were 5 people left, and on the other side of the room, they had mannequins that all represented each person. And basically what they did was they shot paintballs at the people and tried to eliminate each person. It's very Squid Gamey. Well, the person who ended up winning this after almost a week or just over a week was an 11-year-old by the name of Gio Lopez.
An 11-year-old.
An 11-year-old
All right.
named Gio. So yeah, he's set for life, I guess,
Good.
for his Mr. Beast Squid Game activity. The video is very funny. You should check it out, which is also on YouTube, where you can find our show that we put and our videos that we do. But we have to place bets now.
We do.
Place your bets. Here we are. I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide.
Okay, you can owe me. I owe you nothing.
Told you that Carolina giving the points and Duke giving the points was going to win. They both did. If you parlayed that, it was plus 267. I think I won my hockey game as well.
Oh.
So it was a good weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nice. There you go. Maybe we'll start off the week with some more winning bets. So all of mine are going to be on the ice. First up is LA Kings. They're going to be in Chicago taking on the not-so-great Blackhawks, who are now down Seth Jones, but he wanted to be out anyway. So give me the Kings to win that one. And I'm going to take the over 5.5. That's plus 140.
All right, we're going to start right off. The Blue Devils are at home to Wake Forest. Duke is giving 19.5. Brian Geisinger's right. Wake Forest could have won the game in Winston-Salem. Remember, Duke trailed pretty late in the second half before ultimately coming back to win. Yeah, that ain't going to happen tonight. Lay the 19.5 over 144.5. Blue Devils cruise tonight.
Smooth cruising. Well,
Cruise.
The next real bad team in the NHL, San Jose Sharks, are going to be in Toronto taking on the Maple Leafs. Sometimes the Leafs struggle. Don't think that will be a problem tonight. So give me the Maple Leafs at home, and I'm going to take the under 6.5. The Maple Leafs might score 4 all by themselves, but either way, I'm taking the under 6.5. It's plus 125.
All right, I like 2 road underdogs in the National Hockey League tonight. I like Ottawa in Washington tonight. Capitals fighting it a little bit, though they did sign they've now signed both of their goalies to long-term contracts. Charlie Lindgren signed a 3-year deal today.
And Ovechkin, he's now 11 away, right?
11 away from first all-time. He may score a goal, but I think Ottawa wins in Washington tonight. Tampa wins in Florida tonight. Lightning, I think, are sneaky. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Tampa ended up in the Stanley Cup Finals. Ottawa and Tampa both to win on the road. You combine those, it's plus 420.
Not the first time we've heard Tampa Bay Lightning being sneaky.
No.
Last game, Buffalo Sabres in Montreal taking on the Canadiens. Give me the Canadiens. It's basically a pick'em game, actually, but give me the Canadiens under 6.5 plus 225.
All right. Now, I guess it's a busy night in the NHL. Chicago at home. No Seth Jones. I like them to beat L.A. tonight. Plus 210 outright. Blackhawks plus 210 to beat the L.A. Kings. Wall of Sound coming up.
From the heels.
Touchdown, Carolina.
To the Canes.
She scores!
He covers it all. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome to March College Basketball's greatest month. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. Think about this. Wake has to win tonight. Duke doesn't. Wake won't, but they're going to try hard, and they're getting 19.5 points at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Do with that what you will. If you have been waiting to join FanDuel, do it now. The app is great. $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel.com/AdamGold. FanDuel.com/AdamGold. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
Kevin Keats and state basketball have to do something, and I'll tell you what that is. They have to acknowledge what is happening. This season, it's a failure. That's not to say each individual player isn't working harder. There's no likable people in the program. It's just that after last season, this season, it's not enough. And you have to figure out how to fix it for next season.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Fargo, your virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can in the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Fargo is only available on the smartphone versions of the Wells Fargo mobile app. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
All of us have a role to play in promoting a mental health-friendly workplace.
Whether we're a CEO, manager,
coworker,
or someone with a mental health condition ourselves.
So what can I do to help?
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
You're listening to The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
In transition, ridden by Watkins into the paint. The lob, Maluach! My goodness! Soaring in to throw it down. Meanwhile, at the other end, Nitsu caught it. Blocked by Cooper! Get that out of there! 3-on-3 the other way. It's Knipple. Put it up! Count it! And a foul! My goodness! What a flurry!
It's the Adam Gold Show. Oh, on my television right now, fake golf is about to start, I think. Or that's tonight. No, in an hour.
More fake golf?
Fake golf. Whoa. It's the LA Golf Club against, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What?
The Savannah Bananas.
It kind of.
That would be fun. I might actually watch it if they were.
It kind of is the Savannah Bananas. Look, whatever. It is I think some people like it, some people don't really care. But look, if there's nothing else on, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
if Tiger's swinging a golf club, I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I will. I'm a sucker for that. All right. We're going to talk to Cory Lavalette from The Athletic and North State Journal coming up in about 15 minutes. There will be some hurricane stuff at the end of this wall of sound because we're just going to hear from Sebastian Aho's dad.
Yes.
The dad trip. So all the dads, matter of fact, the Hurricanes should be pretty much on the plane by now, flying to Detroit for the game tomorrow. Detroit's good.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricanes have they got to start banking points.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night in Detroit, home against Buffalo on Thursday. I'm sorry, Boston on Thursday. It's the final game before the trade deadline. My guess is the Hurricanes will not be very active. We're going to talk about it with Cory Lavalette. Like if they could add something, what would they add? And they have some decisions to make as we outlined before. But before we do that,
maybe they need to bring the moms back. Remember when the moms were here and they were like winning
last
crazy?
Year?
Yes.
Last year they had the moms, and that was the Spencer Martin run.
Right.
Like they had just acquired him.
Like a game ago.
Right. And he's the goalie.
Yeah.
And they went on his little run here. Yeah, bring the moms back is always good. But the dad's trip, and we're actually going to hear from Sebastian Aho's dad in the Wall of Sound, so let's go.
The Wall of Sound is a function of this studio. There's no doubt about it.
So we'll start with basketball. We heard from the Duke Radio Network earlier. John Shire, they were down Malik Brown, who was out, Tyrese Proctor, who was out. And for a good chunk of the first half, due to an eye injury that scared a lot of people, including Cooper Flagg, they were without him for a chunk of the first half. Yeah, didn't matter.
We really shared the ball so well. And against Florida State to have 12 assists in the first half and 0 turnovers, and to have 17-4 overall, that doesn't happen, and it's a credit to those other guys staying ready that haven't played as many minutes. I thought they really stepped up, and it was great to get Coop back in that second half.
Yeah, when you talk about the turnovers, 3 of them were offensive fouls. There was only one turnover really in the run of play on that out-of-bounds play late in the contest. So that's pretty good taking care of the ball.
It's as good as it gets, really. And, our guys, we talked about valuing the ball against them, but also not being on your heels. You have to be aggressive still. So I thought we did as good of a job as you can do with still being in attack mode. And Cooper, I thought, was loose with the ball several times. But he ended up coming up with the ball. But besides that, it was really good.
Yeah, look, Duke's got all sorts of weapons. I mentioned this last week. Long term, they need Tyrese Proctor. But short term, they can mitigate. Evans, Knipple, Foster, Darren Harris. They have so many. Sion James. There's so many ways to beat you. All right, Kevin Keats and I don't know exactly where this clip comes from other than I saw it on Twitter. Kevin Keatts was asked about, this might be the ACC hotline for all we know, would he consider hiring a general manager?
Kind of how this thing is shifting a little bit. It's not something that we've talked about that we're definitely going to do. Haven't ruled anything out, but it's something that I'm watching to see here. Is that something that will help our program?
All right, now here's my thoughts on this, because it's been a big deal for North Carolina. They hired Jim Tanner, former NBA agent. They hired a GM. We need a GM. Blah, blah, blah. First hire John Shire made when he got the job was to hire Rachel Baker as a general manager of the basketball program. Whether NC State needs a general manager or not, I don't know. It really depends on whether or not they will support the basketball program in this era of name, image, and likeness and revenue sharing. Will they support the basketball program financially? If the answer is yes, then, yeah, they probably should hire a GM. Somebody else to oversee roster, the management of the roster, not the building of the roster, although that's part of it, but the management of the roster. They should do that. But you have to support the program financially first. And as we've talked about here, I don't really think that's happened. Next, we haven't talked about this yet, but big deal for the Washington Commandos. Deebo Samuel, a trade. The trade is not official yet because everything has to be like postmarked by a certain date. But Deebo Samuel from San Francisco to Washington. Is this what Washington needed? ESPN's Louis Riddick.
Look, as many playmakers as you can surround Jaden Daniels with, the better. And for Deebo, and with Deebo, see, you're getting kind of a 2-for-1 because he's a guy who's a dual threat in terms of being a guy who can run the ball traditionally and catch the ball out of the backfield like a running back. And then he's also someone you can put in the slot and have him attack the middle of the field, both short, intermediate, and deep. And that is something that I'm sure Jaden Daniels is looking at and going, man, the possibilities are endless with this kind of player because of his versatility. And on top of it, this is pound for pound maybe the toughest player in the NFL. I know he has an injury history, and because of the way he plays, he puts himself in harm's way. But this is the kind of tone setter that they need on offense and the kind of playmaker that Jaden needs behind him. I'm super excited to see how they put this all together.
All right. It remains to be seen whether or not Deebo Samuel is the same player. But anyway, let's get Kevin Clark, also from ESPN, does a great football podcast, and now he's been guesting on a bunch of other shows. What does Samuel bring?
What does Deebo Samuel bring? Like, just floor at his worst. He's going to block, which really helps in the receiving. Like, no one talks about that ever, but he's going to block, and he's going to be violent. And I think that's what teams want, and that's what Dan Quinn even talked about it last week, I saw. He wanted violent wide receivers who were going to make hits, who are going to be physical. This helps Jaden Daniels a lot. This helps the entire Commanders team.
All right. Samuel's been in the league a minute now. He's not like old by any stretch of the imagination, but he has been hurt a lot.
Yes.
And all of the numbers for Samuel, not just the counting numbers, but all of the per game numbers are starting to be diminished. I'm not throwing any shade on the trade at all, because he is still a great player. But it remains to be seen just how consistently great he can be. But if I'm Washington, I'll manage him for 17 regular season games if I can get peak Deebo when the lights go on. I'm okay with that. We'll see if the Commandos do something like that. All right, real quick, Dan Orlovsky from ESPN on, like, the Giants, who missed out on Matthew Stafford because he stayed with the Rams. Would they turn to Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's a desperation fit, and there's a reality attached to the Giants. I mean, if there was a better fit, there would probably, or better options, I'd feel more comfortable with it, but there's not a ton of realistic options for them. So I think Rodgers is in play for them. But if I were Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and I was like, hey, I got to win by November, because that's their reality. Aaron Rodgers might give you the best chance to do that in September and October, but I would just as comfortably feel good about maybe second round going a player like a Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss or a Jalen Milroe out of Alabama.
Jalen Milroe, wow. Jackson Dart I've heard about from a lot of people who think he's going to be really good. I'm not advocating for any of these players. Man, Jalen Milroe seems like second round, really? How about fourth round? I don't know. All right, now very quickly, we're going to close on this. Cory Lavallette's going to join us in our next segment to talk about Carolina's, where they are right now with 2 games left before the trade deadline. Sebastian Aho scores the overtime game winner, 5th time this year that Aho has scored a goal. But his dad, Harry, is not only a former professional player in Finland, but he is an executive. He's like a GM with one of the top teams in the Finnish league. And here's Aho's dad on his son and his new teammate being together.
Oh, it's great to see them back together, and they're good friends, and Mikko's a great player, and I would like to see him here more years to come.
That's Harry Aho advocating for a long stay
more
for
years to come.
Mikko Rantanen.
Mm-hmm.
We all would like to see that happen.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to Cory Lavalette about it, see if he would like to see Mikko Rantanen stay along for the next 8 years and make a boatload of money. I know I'd do it. If they ask me, they won't ask me. Cory Lavalette, next.
Making more sports sense than social media trolls. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen for the...
Oh, my goodness!
Check in for the...
Beautiful back cut and a two-hand jam.
Don't miss the...
Race to the other end. Get ready for the show!
What was that?
A reverse pull-up! My goodness! Hubbard got hit, and he made the shot!
You're home for the Final Four from San Antonio.
Cooper got it to rattle home!
99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
The Body Armor State Games are coming to Greensboro this June. Registration is open to athletes of all ages and skill levels in 20 different sports. The Body Armor State Games feature 11,000 athletes and 600 teams. Don't miss out on North Carolina's largest sports festival of the year. Visit bodyarmorstategames.org today. The Body Armor State Games are proud to partner with Truist, Lowe's Foods, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at $119 and take $20 off your air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResRaleigh.com and say you want the 99.9 The Fan special.
Every second counts in a poison emergency. That's why Poison Help is standing by 24/7 to provide free assistance in over 100 languages. Save Poison Help as a contact in your phone today. Poison Help. 1-800-222-1222.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames. Because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster. Which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
It's bow time.
Finally, lunchtime. I'm starving.
What's that?
This is the Bojangler from Bojangles.
With the same bold flavor as their chicken?
The same.
And fries.
The same.
Huh. Well, I've got a PB&J.
Yeah, that's not the same.
A crispy fish fillet dusted in Bo's famous seasoning. With cheese and tartar sauce on a fluffy bun, the Bojangler's back. Hook one while you can. It's bow time.
There's no time like Bojangler time. Time to stop whatever you're doing and head over to Bojangles to try the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. You heard right, the Bojangler Fish Fillet Sandwich. A perfectly seasoned, light, flaky, wild-caught Alaskan pollock fish fillet sandwich. For limited time at participating Bojangles. Make it a combo and add Bojangles seasoned fries and legendary iced tea. Hungry for Bojangles but in the mood for something different? Then it's Bojangler time.
At Bright Smiles and All-Star Implants in Garner, we specialize in transforming smiles in just one day with the latest in same-day implant technology, or All-on-4. Our advanced, fully digital methods deliver predictable results, giving you a beautiful, functional smile fast. We're a non-corporate, privately owned one-stop dental care destination for over 15 years. No referrals, no extra stops. Just convenient, affordable care to save you time and money. Se habla español. Schedule your free consultation now at brightsmilesnc.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
This is Adam Gold.
But whenever you say, well, we're not using this as an excuse. No, we are. Whether it's justifiable or not can be a different discussion. But you are.
It's like the equivalent of saying no offense, but ...
Offense coming.
Yeah, get ready for it.
Look out. Here we come with some offense for you.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria's here.
I know Cory is our siren grader, and that's why I kind of thought of this song.
Oh, very good. That's right, he is. And he is not. He does not grade on a curve.
No.
You get no breaks at all from Cory Lavalette.
No extra credit.
That's actually why I won't do the siren.
That's why.
Because I know Cory would be very difficult on me.
And put it on Twitter.
Absolutely. Cory Lavalette, North State Journal and The Athletic, covers the Hurricanes, as well, does other things too, but editor, North State Journal. Sir, thank you very much for the time, man. Do you think in our lifetime the Hurricanes will have a representative power play?
Yeah, it hasn't been great lately, has it?
They have 5 power play goals in 2025, Cory. It's March. 5 for 65 in this calendar year.
They never really recovered from Shane Gostisbehere's injury, it seems like. And it seems like he never really recovered.
Unbelievable.
From that injury. And that's been a big hole, I think.
Yeah, I think it was starting to wane a little bit before then, but you're right. I mean, it just hasn't been good at all. And I thought, and I put it on Twitter, not that this really matters, it's more of a joke than anything, against the penalty kill like Calgary's that really wasn't very good. I think coming in, it was 73% on the season. You get 4 minutes of power play time with 4:43 left, and you don't score a power play goal. And frankly, they didn't really have any, how did they not score right there type of moments for 4 minutes. I thought they should you didn't deserve to win. But fortunately, Sebastian Aho in overtime is paid by the Hurricanes. What do you make of that, by the way? 5 overtime wins, all from Aho.
You know, somebody asked Rod about it last night, and it was, I'm getting some.
Oh, we're having some issues here? I think we're having some issues with the phone for Cory. So can we need to call Cory back. So I think we need to call Cory back. He's not, I think either Cory can't hear me or Cory's.
I can hear you. I just had a lot of feedback.
Oh,
I had
okay.
a lot of other voices for a minute there.
Real? Are you good now?
Yes, I'm totally good now.
Perfect. All right, we figured it out. There are gremlins here, Cory.
Yes, everywhere.
It's the same gremlins that have impacted the power play of the Hurricanes. All right, let's not wait any longer to get into it. What do you make of the first dozen games, and I know he hasn't played all of them, he missed one, of the Mikko Rantanen experience here?
I mean, I think he's been probably their best player. It hasn't gone as well statistically as you would like, and then you look at the trade and you see that Martin H has had a pretty hot start, and I think everybody kind of panics a little bit. But I think he's been really, really good. Didn't love the penalty 2 nights ago at the end of the game, bumping the goalie. That's a tough one to take. Just, I think that maybe just the frustration of maybe trying to do a little bit too much. But we talked about the power play for a half a second there. It seems like it's at its best when the puck is on his stick, when they're running it through him. I think he's been really good. I just think we haven't seen the production yet, and the question is will it come?
Right. You're right. The production has not yet been there. He's had opportunities on his stick too, right? I mean, he had a point blank opportunity in a 2-1 hockey game against Edmonton on Saturday night. It was pretty soon after the Hurricanes had scored the power play goal. By the way, that pass from Rantanen to Aho for the power play goal against the Oilers was just, that was unbelievable how good that pass was. So it's there. There have been opportunities. He's just been, whether he's trying too hard or whatnot, the shots have not gone in for him. Does he fit how Carolina plays?
I think so. I think he's he's basically what you want. You want to, everybody's been screaming for them to get bigger, and you're not going to get much bigger than him. There's not too many guys with his size. Now, he's not, a Kachuk-like physical force, right, maybe, but he's a big body that takes up a lot of space, and you see he's really hard to get the puck off of. And, I think it was Eric Tulsky, actually, who said he's like, he didn't say it this way, so this is going to sound bad, but he's basically Jordan Staal with skill. That, he can do what Jordan does as far as puck possession, but then on top of it, he's an elite, player with the puck on his stick. So I think he does fit. I think there's a little bit of lefty-righty stuff going on right now that they need to figure out, who fits where. But I think he's the type of player you want, and I think he's the type of player that probably ages well. Those big power forwards that were physical, the Kyle Okposos, the Andrew Ladds, those type of guys, they wore down because their bodies took a beating.
Right.
He doesn't play that way. And these big players that, their game isn't predicated on their speed, they tend to age pretty well, I think. And so, to me, he's a better fit than Jake Gensel, I think, for that reason. But that's you've got to get him to sign on the dotted line to make that happen.
Cory Lavalette is joining us here at Cory Lav on Twitter. Do you think the Hurricanes are a Stanley Cup contender right now?
I always find this question a little weird because so much of what happens in the playoffs is predicated on, trends a little bit. Like if your power play gets going, if your goaltender gets hot, it's not often that we anymore see the powerhouse team just kind of plow through everybody, right?
Right.
So to me, you got to figure out the power play thing. If that doesn't get fixed, then no, you're not a contender. Now, is it a personnel problem? Is it a schematic problem? I don't think so, because we've seen this power play do well with different pieces in place. Last year it was really good with Brent Burns as the power play quarterback. And even this year when he was on there for 5 minutes, people were really upset that he was on there. And, it's not just about him. It's not just about, really, to me, really, a lot of it is about Sebastian Aho and just him getting to the level that we know he can play at. And there have been some glimpses lately, but, I think you need the power play to be good, and then you're going to need your goaltending to be good. And I asked Rod last night, are you looking for somebody to take the reins in goal? And he kind of dodged it and said, well, I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody, in the regular season, which wasn't really my point. My point was more, do you need someone to take the reins and show you who they're going to be? for the who's going to be the guy for the playoffs. And right now it's Pyotr Kochetkov, I think, in my mind, but that can change, and we'll see what Rod thinks about it. He makes the decision, not me.
Right. Well, because I liked the question. We're going to have an alternation for the rest of the regular season. There is no doubt about that. They're just going to go back and forth. I know they've got a 4-day break between games coming up here soon. It might even be after this weekend, where they've got like a 4-day break before they play again. And maybe he'll double up in that situation. But for the most part, they're just going to alternate A-B, A-B, A-B the rest of the way. But I agree with you. In the postseason, he's going to decide on which one and probably give the lion's share of the games to that guy. I thought it would be Anderson, but I don't know that either has been good enough since Anderson came back to really say, all right, this is going to be the guy. I think you're right. I think it's an open competition for who's going to be the number one goaltender in the playoffs. I think if they started today, I actually think he would go with Freddie, not Kochetkov.
Yeah, I haven't loved how Freddie's played the last handful of years, but we know what kind of stability he brings to the position. And Kochetkov is anything but that, and I don't mean that. I don't mean that in his ability to stop pucks. I just mean, he's definitely the more erratic's not the right word, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, the range in performances for Kochetkov are definitely wider.
I don't even so much mean the range in performance as just the way he carries himself in net is almost the polar opposite of how Freddie Anderson carries himself. And it's two different things. And every coach and every player will tell you we play the same in front of every goalie, but you can't play the same in front of those two goalies, I don't think. Because they're so different. Kochetkov could be at center ice with you at some point.
Right. Yeah, he's joining the rush. Like, why are we doing this, Pyotr? Defensively, are there holes that they need to address?
I don't. Their defense isn't as good as it's been, and that was expected. I mean, you lose Brady Shea, you lose Brett Pesce. I think you didn't expect Dmitry Orlov to have the season he's had, especially after he had a pretty good start to the year. He's struggled with just decision making, and the issue you have right now is, you've got 3 lefties, 3 righties that are your top 6. How do you move them around and make it make sense other than what it is? That's the hard part to me is, can you put Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov together? Probably not. Can you put Shane Gostisbehere and Brent Burns together? Probably not. So that raises issues that are going to be resolved this offseason, but unless somebody comes calling and says we want Dmitry Orlov, in a trade or something, you're really kind of stuck with what you have unless you're willing to scratch somebody and try one of the young guys, give Scott Morrow a shot or whatever. And we know how Rod's career ended, and I don't think there's any way he would do the same thing to Brent. The fact that Rod had his long Ironman streak that got ended when he played the third day in 3 nights in a preseason game and blocked a shot on his foot. And, the respect he has for the guys that do that, and the way his career ended with him being an older player who had gotten a little slower, had the knee injury that he lost a step. And, Brent Burns isn't the guy he was even when he got to Carolina. But I don't want to say it's a blind spot for Rod. I'm sure he's aware of it, but at the same time, I think he respects Brent too much to have it end that way. So that's a tough situation right there. But Brent Burns has struggled as well, and it's a different role for him. But at the same time, he's not really producing offensively.
No, he's not. He hasn't produced offensively all year. But I'm not sure. I know Shane Gostisbehere is the biggest point earner on the blue line, but I'm not sure Jacob Slavin hasn't been their best offensive player on the blue line now for about 2 months. real quick with Cory Lavalette before we have to say goodbye. Because I would bring Scott Morrow up and play him. And I would bring Bradley Nadeau up and give him a shot. Maybe send Tyson Jost down because you got salary cap issues to deal with. But I would do that because right now they need some offense. And I think when we get to the playoffs, I wouldn't be completely shocked to see new faces here because it hasn't been good defensively. And right now it doesn't show a lot of signs of getting better.
Yeah, I thought last night they were pretty good.
But it's Calgary, and they're the worst, maybe the worst offensive team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, but you're limiting chances and all of that, and the one goal you give up is kind of a little a nice power play goal, I guess. I didn't mind the performance last night, and Calgary's found ways to win this year, but the problem, and I mean, they do benefit from having a coach now that plays the same system, which is what they didn't have last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you call Bradley Nadeau up, you need to play him high up in the lineup. I don't think he's going to be, a good fourth line guy for you. He's going to have to, go the Jackson Blake route and earn, you can do that during the regular season. I don't know that you want to do it in the playoffs. Scott Morrow, the question is who comes out, right? Like, who do you take out? Are you taking out Brent Burns?
No, I'm taking out Dmitry Orlov, and I'm playing either Walker with Chatfield on his offside, or I'm playing Morrow with Chatfield on his offside. Maybe Morrow with Chatfield on his offside. Jalen can play the left side. I got no problem with that. At this point in a regular season, I'd like to see it. I'm radical.
Yeah.
I am. I'm radical because you and I differ. I actually think and I said this earlier, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a Stanley Cup contender, 1 being nothing, I put Carolina at about a 6. I just think that their goaltending hasn't been good enough, and defensively they've been giving up, making way too many mistakes, and been too porous to put them in a true contender status. But again, on the Metro side of the Eastern Conference, I'm not sure they might might not be good enough to win 2 rounds. Final question: Mikko Rantanen on the roster on Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way they flip him unless somebody comes with something that blows them away. I mean, they're not making calls on that. I think they're willing to listen, but I think, they're willing to listen on anyone and everything at all times. So I think he's here and they try to make it work.
All right. Cory Lavalette at Cory Lav on Twitter, from The Athletic, North State Journal as well. I'll see you Thursday. Final game before the break. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yep, anytime, buddy.
You got it. Cory Lavalette here on the Adam Gold Show. Yeah, I mean, goaltending and defense to me are major, major question marks, which to me get in the way of you being a true contender for the Stanley Cup. With that said, as I said earlier, the Hurricanes have to ask themselves 2 questions. And the first question is, are they a true Stanley Cup contender? That's their answer, not mine. So my answer doesn't matter. Are we a true Stanley Cup contender? And then if we are, or if we aren't, probably more so if we aren't, then do we believe we can sign Mikko Rantanen? The answers to those 2 questions determine what you do. Because if you don't think you can sign him, well then the public humiliation of losing out on another great player is either Friday or July 1. And it just depends on what day you want to swallow that pill. That's all. That's the way I look at it. I don't have to be right. That's just my opinion. And I think Jake Guentzel wanted to be here. I actually think Guentzel was a good fit. He wasn't the physical power forward, but Guentzel really fit the way Carolina played. He wasn't an awesome goal scorer for Carolina, but it's hard for anybody to step into a new team and just become an awesome goal scorer. But I think he would have done basically what he did in Pittsburgh here. Right? I believe that. Hopefully it'll happen for Rantanen pretty quickly. They got to start looking like an offensive team again. If the Hurricanes offense comes back, then I give them a better chance in the Metro. Still worry about beating Florida. Florida's going to be a wagon when we get to the playoffs again. All right, when we come back, we'll rewind. This is the Adam Gold Show. Next.
Questioning goalie interference calls since day one. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Did you know? Along with keeping their local communities powered, public power line workers are part of a mutual aid network spanning the state and country. Public power crews help their neighbors when natural disasters damage electric systems. And that mutual aid network is one of the reasons public power has the highest reliability rating among energy providers, forming a camaraderie among line workers that's second to none. Interested in joining public power? Learn more about careers at electricities.com.
From the mountains to the coast, there is tremendous pride in North Carolina agriculture. NC Forever Farms is a program recognizing family farms that are protecting precious working lands vital to the future of agriculture. Through permanent agricultural conservation easements, these NC Forever Farms will always be protected from development. Learn more about preserving family farms through the Farmland Preservation Division of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services by visiting ncadfp.org.
Dear North Carolina, for 70 incredible years, you've been by our side. From Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood to the wonders of Antiques Roadshow, from This Old House to NC Weekend, we've explored, learned, and grown together. Because of your support, PBS North Carolina has gone beyond the screen, inspiring, educating, and entertaining in classrooms, at home, and on the go. Celebrate with us when you watch new programming on PBS NC or stream anytime on the free PBS app. Learn more about PBS North Carolina at pbsnc.org.
Going to college gives you more career options. You could say it pays for itself, but it might not feel that way in the short term, especially when tuitions do. That's where the FAFSA comes in. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It's your gateway to money for college, whether you're seeking scholarships, grants, work-study programs, or loans. It all starts with the FAFSA. So how about it? Make a plan for college and find everything you need for the FAFSA at cfnc.org.
AARP is working hard to make sure people in North Carolina are getting the most out of life. Whether it's helping you stay healthy, save more money, care for loved ones, or simply have some fun, AARP is making a difference in communities across the state. You have a wise friend and fierce defender with AARP. Learn more about progress being made for older adults in the state by listening to AARP Without Limits. You can find the latest episodes of AARP Without Limits wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Electricity. It's what powers our lives, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. In North Carolina, 26 local electric cooperatives provide energy to 2.8 million people across the state. But we're providing so much more than affordable, reliable power. We're helping to strengthen the people and communities that make our state great, today and for generations to come. North Carolina's electric cooperatives. Power you can count on, now and always. Learn more at ncelectriccooperatives.com.
A crisis moment is any moment where you feel overwhelmed and as if you aren't able alone to handle what's happening. You don't have to be alone with that feeling. And when that feeling comes is exactly when you should reach out, you should get connected, and you should be in community. We care, we listen, we help. Call, text, or chat 988 anytime.
Call, text, or chat 988-24/7. Brought to you by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
Have you ever noticed how little things can make a big difference? When your neighbor is out of town, why not pick up their newspaper and put it on their doorstep? How about asking if you can help when you see a person with a disability trying to get out of their car? Or simply smiling when you meet a stranger? It takes a little time, but it works wonders. In North Carolina, we have always taken pride in being kind. Little things do make a difference. Makes you feel better. makes everyone around you feel better.
Gold. Gold.
So I was reading an article about the 10 oddest Guinness World Records, and the thing that caught my eye was most skips by a cat in 1 minute. This woman has a jump rope and is skipping with her cat. Okay, I have got a cat, and let me just tell you, the skipping alone would cause this, but swinging a jump rope anywhere near my sweet kitty Carol, she'd be gone for like 5 days.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria, she is producing this program. We haven't spent a lot of time. I mentioned it in the very beginning of the show. Probably should have spent a little bit more time on it, but we were hyper-focused on two other topics, basketball and the plight, I guess, of the Carolina Hurricanes. But the Atlantic Coast Conference tomorrow is going to enter into a new agreement as a league that will distribute revenue differently to favor the football programs that do the best in terms of television ratings. Of course, you could always game that, but the ACC is going to want Clemson and Florida State, as long as they're good, to be on TV as much as possible. And by the way, they're not the only good teams, but North Carolina is going to be on TV every single week this year. They're going to be featured a ton. The eyeballs on UNC football are going to be through the roof. So we'll see a fair amount of that. So it will also benefit UNC. But it also says, by the way, men's basketball, or basketball. Didn't say necessarily stress men's, but it said basketball. And this could also be good for Duke. You go back, go look this year at ACC, or not just ACC, basketball television ratings. If I'm not mistaken, only one game this year rated higher than about 6 Duke games. And that was the 1-2 Alabama-Auburn game. That's the most watched ESPN college basketball game this year. That one. Duke is half of like all of the next, maybe not all of them, but I would say 8 of the next 15 highest rated college basketball games involve Duke. Kentucky, Kansas, Auburn, Carolina, and we'll have another one coming up on Saturday. I mean, it's the Blue Devils, it's Notre Dame football. Duke basketball is Notre Dame football. There's no way around it. Anyway, so what this agreement does is it eliminates the lawsuits that Clemson and Florida State had filed against the ACC. The ACC gets a win if it's a win in that regard. And again, this will be approved tomorrow. And I know I've seen some pushback on it, on the idea that this is even legal. I'm not sure it is illegal or legal, but lawyers will lawyer. But the lawsuits will be ended. They'll be withdrawn or dismissed or whatever. It does prove that the grant of rights worked, that Florida State and Clemson have decided to stop their legal maneuvering. But at the same time, the ACC acts as though it's in a weakened position. You could have simply said, yeah, the grant of rights are the grant of rights, suck it up. But what the ACC has chosen to do in exchange for getting rid of the lawsuits, which I'm sure have been getting expensive, they have appeased Florida State and Clemson financially to an extent. And they also have voted or agreed, have agreed to rework the potential exit of Florida State and Clemson. And for me, I don't really understand why you do that, which is why when I put this on Twitter earlier, the time of death for the ACC, July 1, 2030. Now, I'm not saying that it will happen by then. I mean, that's what the tweet says. But it's a pretty accurate guess, I think. It might not be 2030. It might be 2031. Might even be 2032. But by entering into this agreement, I think the league signs its own death warrant. The only thing that, to me, would alter that is the likelihood, and I think it is going to happen at some point, that we completely scrap everything. The SEC and the Big Ten gobble up all the football programs, and we simply have a Super League. And football is different from the other sports. And I think, honestly, it would be best for all parties if that's the way we went. The greed and the damage done by that greed, not only to the fabric of college football, but all of college sports, I don't believe is repairable unless football separates itself completely. Like, it would be better for everyone if football just did its own thing, was its own entity, and the rest of college sports went back to being the rest of college sports. Because, and I'm not saying that the emphasis on football has damaged basketball. I think that's a cause and an effect that I don't think there is any evidence other than it happened at the same time. I don't think there is any evidence that says this leads to this. I think we make assumptions, and I just don't see any evidence that one leads to the other. But what I do believe is that there is no reason at all why Duke and Stanford are in the same conference. Why USC, for things other than football. Frankly, there's no reason they're in the same conference for football either. But there's no reason why USC and Penn State should be in the same football conference or the same basketball conference. Zero reason. Now, if we are simply playing Super League college football, where the best programs and the biggest schools are all lumped in the same pool, and we've got like 40 or 50 schools playing at that level, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I mean, it's dumb. It's greedy. It's counterproductive. But, let them go make their money and pretend that it's college sports. But it's not. But the rest of it should be left alone. It should be. But it won't be. Because greed. That's all it is. Let's rewind. All right, Brian Geisinger joins us every Monday. We talk hoops or whatever it is NC State's doing. I'm just kidding. It's been a bad year. Man, it's just been a nightmare. So I think they've got good players. And I don't know what happened this year, why. I mean, they don't have great players, but I think they have a bunch of good players. And I asked Brian where this all went sideways.
Yeah, I mean, it just never really quite got off the ground. And when you have something like that, I think you have to go back to the previous offseason and roster construction. We've talked about multiple times on the show or texting off air, whatever. You and I have sort of talked about the roster and how it came together, how it didn't come together.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, there's different people want to place the blame in different areas, but regardless of how you assess that, they didn't. This is not a roster that has a lot of offensive, plus offensive talent on it, and they lost their two best playmakers and shot creators from a season ago with DJ Horn and DJ Burns. They also lost Mo Diarra, who was a really good player for them. Good rebounder. Maybe their best defender, could also do stuff for them offensively, and they just never found a real way to replace the playmaking of Horn and Burns. I think Styles has come and played pretty well as like a stretch four for them this season. He's not the same rebounder defender and versatile defender as Diarra, but he's been probably their most reliable player offensively. And so I think it really comes down to it's not just not having enough shooters on the team, But I think part of it, too, is also not having really someone that can operate pick and roll, get two to the ball offensively, create advantages, and set up easy shots for everyone else. Because I think there are a lot of good players on the roster, but just not nearly enough plus offensive talent to really bend and manipulate defenses. And they routinely are unable to score consistently in half court. And obviously, the defense hasn't been great this season either. I think there's a few things we can sort of point the finger at for that as well. But really, it's the offense that has just been stuck in the mud. Game 1 through this past weekend against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, it's been a mess. I would have loved to have seen them kind of, especially like a month ago. All right, Paul McNeil, we want you to be here. We want you to feel good about things. You're going to play a lot. Trey Parker, we want you to be here. We want you to feel good about things. We're going to play you a lot. Dennis Parker Jr. I would have taken the young guys. Hey, Dontre Styles has played well. He's been featured a lot. So, like Marcus Hill. Yeah, okay. I know early in the season he was doing everything, but it's just if you can't. How can you be a guard and not shoot threes and not be I'm not saying you don't have to be a great 3-point shooter, but it's got to be part of your arsenal. Like I could see Marcus Hill as all right, nothing's working. Let's bring the old guy in and let him play YMCA basketball. Let him just drive to the lane all day long. But I would have gone with better players, especially once it started going sideways. I don't know. That probably doesn't make great sense either. All right, let's get one more thing in here because coming up on Saturday, we got Duke and North Carolina. And for my money, I've talked about this before today, that I don't think that the reason the Blue Devils have been just absolutely boat racing basically everybody they have played lately is because they're not playing against the opponents. Now, granted, when you play against the Clemson, when you play against the Louisville, when you play against Illinois outside of the league, and I know it was a physically compromised Illini team, so I get it. But Duke has not left anything to chance. They are playing to a standard, their own standard. And I asked Brian about Saturday against North Carolina. What's the formula? What is it? Duke missing a bunch of threes and UNC getting a bunch of offensive rebounds? Is that the formula?
Yeah, that's how you swing the math, right? You get, you take a great 3-point shooting team. They have a C- shooting night, and then UNC scrambles up the math a little bit by getting on the glass and by not having a lot of turnovers, right? Until you just get extra shots, extra possessions. And obviously UNC they still have a lot of offensive talent on this roster.
They do.
And so if you're able to have more possessions than normal, you're probably going to cash it in. And second chance opportunities, especially when they're direct putbacks, those are efficient offensive opportunities. Those are layups. Those are fouls. You get all kinds of good stuff out of that. And certainly this is part of the benefit of having being able to play Powell and Withers together, and just having sort of more size and length on the floor, while also still being able to stretch it, but certainly being able to have guys like that can get on the glass, and that's part of it. Duke is a very good defensive rebounding team. Flag is an amazing defensive rebounder.
Yeah,
and Malawach is probably up and down as a rebounder from a prospect evaluation standpoint, but ultimately he does a pretty good job controlling the glass for Duke too. So it's not easy just to get up and really do damage against those guys. That said, I think one of the weak spots for Duke this season has been front court second play, too experienced, true big guys against them, like Clemson with Lockett and Shefflin, Kansas with Dickinson and Adams, and I'm blanking on Kentucky, I guess, with Williams and Carr and Garrison, I guess would be another would be another one worth mentioning too. And Auburn as well. I mean, Duke won that game, but it was close in Cameron, and Auburn blitzed them at the start.
Yeah.
And Auburn's front line of Broom and Cardell and Johnson is obviously very, very good and experienced and strong.
Yeah. So, look, I think the Blue Devils have all the pieces to win a title. Don't know if they win. Don't know if they make the Final Four. It's the beauty of the college basketball tournament. I mean, literally anything can happen. We have seen one seeds lose in the first round. We've seen it twice, right? But we see it's not out of the realm of possibility that you draw the wrong 8 seed and you go out in the second round. That would be a terrible development for the Blue Devils. But I do think that this team has so much firepower. They have the offensive firepower to go with a defensive mindset. So I do anticipate Duke at least being around to the second weekend. And if they can get to the second weekend, reaching the Elite Eight is pretty good year. Not completely their standard, but I expect to see their standard tonight against Wake. I think they're going to cover the nearly 20. Victoria, thank you very much. See everybody tomorrow.
Talking sports so you don't have to pretend to know stuff. The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold, and do you have a late-night craving for in-depth analysis on the Carolina Hurricanes and their latest game, their latest win, their pursuit of the Stanley Cup? Well, I can quench your thirst. I can feed that appetite on the Canes Corner podcast, the morning after edition, which drops the morning after every Hurricanes game. Get it wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina.